What's going on, you bunch of hooligans? 601. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The madness is back tonight. 4 games, starting with Arizona and Clemson at 6:10. You got UConn, San Diego State following that at 6:40. UNC, Alabama, that's my big game of the night, at 8:40. And at 9:10, taking up the caboose, Illinois and Iowa State. We had a big signing yesterday, odd for the second wave of free agency. Jadeveon Clowney returning home, signing a 2-year, $20 million deal worth up to $24 million with the Carolina Panthers. Last year, Clowney played in 17 games, tying a career high with 9.5 sacks. Also marked just the second time in his career that he played in a full season's worth of games. And the Vols had their pro day yesterday, and Joe Milton's cannon was on full display. Had to leave the indoor facility so his passes would stop hitting the roof. Milton ran a 4.55 at 245 pounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning, and dare we say a Friday Junior edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will starts right now. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast. We've got Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson with the morning off. Robert Walsh is our producer. I'm Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are under a month away from the 2024 NFL Draft. We've got a player who's dazzled yesterday at his pro day who might be more of an option for the Tennessee Titans. We've got Sweet 16 basketball tonight, and we have got 4 hours with lots to discuss with you on this cold Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Good morning. How are we?
Good, man. Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good?
Good. Glad to hear that, Will. Today is Thursday. It's Friday Junior already.
Sure is.
Golly. Getting to it, man. Had an eventful day yesterday. Baseball game.
I was going to say, Groundhog Day, you were at a baseball field.
Was at a baseball field, but nothing too crazy. I'm still getting over the fact that certain teams don't have, like, lights and stuff like that, so they play early, which is good. Actually get home at a decent time after baseball games for high school kids. So it's pretty cool. Really cool, man.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely.
Robert Walsh working away in the radio mine back there. Good morning.
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. The rent right now. That's all we worried about is the rent.
It's coming, too. I got 3 days until I got to throw some money at my landlord.
We can go fight him if you want.
I would love to fight him. He's actually a very cantankerous old man. He's always – so somebody's dog dug a big old hole in my front yard.
Okay.
And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, somebody already did my gardening for me. So earlier in the off season, I bought a fig bush. I was going to plant it in my backyard, but somebody's dog dug, no lie, like a 2-foot hole in my front yard. I need to put more cameras out there. I told you I was dealing with them leaving landmines everywhere. Now I got to worry about breaking my ankle in a 2-foot hole. So anyway, I was going to plant this fig bush in the front yard, and this man didn't send me an email, didn't send me a text, came and knocked on my front door and was like, "What is that in the front yard?" Didn't say, "Hey, hello, how's it going? Your money's green. Nice to meet you." Nothing. Wanted to complain about that daggum bush. I'm like, well, it's a hardy fig. It's going to produce delicious figs for us to eat. And he did not care. He told me I needed to remove it. Really? I really hope he doesn't find out I'm going to get quail in the backyard. If he finds out I'm getting birds, then I'm moving. I'm going to move him to the garage.
You getting quail now? So I was going to ask you next.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Cheyenne is not excited. She is not excited about the birds, but I am very excited. Ready to get them. They're like little baby chickens, except for they're like a miniature. People get miniature pigs.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm getting a miniature chicken.
Hey, that's actually decent because you had some pest birds show up, didn't you? Like, it was a few that you did not like that were showing up.
They were just kind of, you know what? I'm kind of like Noah's Ark or Dr. Doolittle now. I'm kind of just letting everybody Whoever wants to eat at my bird feeder, squirrels, birds, storks, pelicans, whoever shows up and wants to fill their gullet, come on to Bert's house. I got plenty of seed and feed for everybody.
So I also am a bird feeder person, dad, whatever you want to call him, king, ruler, however you want to describe me, okay? Yeah. I like that one a whole lot better. I also have it's a hummingbird feeder, though. And I absolutely love watching them. Y'all ever seen them up close and personal? They are phenomenal to watch. And you just got to figure out, like, how do you flap your wings that quick? But they also just drink or eat a sweet nectar. And that, to me, is very hilarious because they thrive off of sugar. And as kids and as adults, doctors and everybody tell us not to have sugar. But the hummingbirds seem to be doing fine with just drinking straight sugar and nectar.
You know who is not drinking straight sugar this morning?
Who?
Jared on Facebook Live, who tunes in the F&M Bank chat on 104.5 The Zone TV and comments, "This is why I stopped listening to 104.5. Who cares about trees in the front yard? Is this HGTV?"
Yeah.
Dude, Robert, why are you scaring our listeners away, man?
Man, well, he's listening right now, ain't he? He came back like a boomerang, didn't he? What was his name?
His name is Jared.
Jared, I got a fig for you, buddy. Whenever you want one, come on down.
We decided that at 6:05 in the morning, if we wanted to go to bad opinions, we went to Jared. So we decided to go to Jared for that this morning. 615-737-1045. The audacity of us to start a 4-hour radio show with 3 minutes talking about our days.
Talking about our days, man. That's all we trying to do is inform the people so they can walk up to us. You see what I'm saying? Hey, man, how the trees doing? No, we want to talk about hard sports at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got you. Cool, Will.
That's cool. Bert and the Bees is over with. We're not going to talk Bert and the Bees.
I thought people liked birds in their backyards, but apparently not.
Dude.
If you were a government pro bird flying around this morning, don't go to Jared's house.
Please don't go to Jared's house. My grass got cut for the first time yesterday, and my lines are legit. Whoa, you want to talk? Well, it's combating. You hear me? It's tit for tat with kneeling right now. Name any turf, okay? In baseball, okay, in football, your favorite high school artificial turf. Stripes killing that right now.
Jared has responded and said, "Y'all's moderator can get it whenever. That is why you got a face for radio."
Oh,
listen, I knew at a young age I had a face for radio. That's why I chose this line of work.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh,
615-737-1045 is our number. We got pro days yesterday to talk about.
You're not gonna let Bert rebuttal? He said you can get it anywhere.
No, I think he's talking about me because he's talking about me.
I thought he was talking about Bert. He called him your moderator.
Well, he can't see your face.
Well, one, you can't talk to me like Cheyenne. Cheyenne talked to me like that too. Tell me I can get it anyway. Y'all move on.
All in good fun, Jared.
Good morning, good people.
We got pro days yesterday to talk about LSU, Jaden Daniels, and Malik Neighbors working down in Baton Rouge. We'll talk about that this morning. Sweet 16 tonight, Clemson, Arizona, San Diego State, UConn, Alabama, North Carolina, Illinois, Iowa State. 8:39 tonight. I am upset that game is so late, but if I come in here looking half asleep tomorrow morning, it is because that is a can't-miss game of college basketball tonight.
Yeah, gotta have that. Good slate for tonight too, man. Looking forward to seeing how they bounce back after all this time off. That was always fascinating. I should have asked Savage that too. How could you have that many days in between a basketball game? Like, does the body get a little bit sore? Does it take time to get going? That's always fascinating, especially when you got classes also this time of the year. I think everybody's spring break is up. That's always been fascinating.
Coach Mack at 7:20 this morning. Mike Morgan, play-by-play broadcaster on ESPN and SEC Network, who also broadcasts NFL football on the radio as well. He will join us at 8:20. And our good friend Mike Wilson of Knox News joins us at 9:20 this morning. When we come back, though, Ramon Foster, Jim Harbaugh had some interesting things to say about the offensive line position yesterday. Did you see this?
Yes, I did. Love him.
It sounds like something that would be taught in a classroom about building a football team. No, it does. That's the tweet of Jim Harbaugh's comment at NFL owners meetings genuinely said this should be taught in classrooms. Interesting stuff yesterday, and it feels like Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers are trying to teach us something or trying to tell us something. trying to tell us that they would rather have another offensive lineman than another guy who can catch passes. The question is, do we believe them? And is there another wide receiver who was also working out yesterday who would be a better option at the number 7 overall pick than Joe Alt? We'll talk about that coming up next. 615-737-1045. RKW, brewed by 8th and Roast. Hour 1 continues after this. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast right here on 104.5 The Zone. No Kayla this morning. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster with you. Robert Walsh making the show happen. 615-737-1045 is our number. So going into the 2024 season, Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers have lots of holes on a very expensive roster. And Ramon, it seems like Jim Harbaugh has no interest in fielding a team that has wide receivers on it.
You have to look at what Jim Harbaugh's DNA is. It is running the ball. It is physicality. It is control and dominate. It's how he's operated. It's what he did in San Francisco. That's how he built up Michigan to be Ohio State the way they have for a few years and control that series and whatnot. They are national champions, the teams that he led, no matter if they come take that championship away or not. And they did it with guys like Blake Corum. They got offensive linemen that are capable of being drafted. They handed out, of course, Michigan, years in a row, the best offensive line award in college.
Yep,
for
Joe
years.
Moore Award.
Joe Moore Award. They do that. That is in his DNA, no matter what happens moving forward, how he is as a coach. You know how some coaches have tendencies? That's one of his, to say we're going to have a strong physical team, and that probably starts with big boys and not the small skill guys.
I'm about to make you really happy.
Talk to me nicely.
Because Jim Harbaugh's breakdown of why offensive line is so important is going to be music to your ears. This was from the NFL owners' meetings this week.
The offensive line to me is important. I mean, if I asked you the question of like what position group depends on no other position group to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good, you know, what position group is that? Offensive line. They're not relying on any other position group to be good. They go out and they're good. But yet every other position group relies on the offensive line to be good. And then the D-line, they'll be the ones that argue back, we don't need the offensive line to be good. Do you? Do you like it? Do you like when the offense has a 12-play drive and the field position? Yeah, okay, you're right. It's like, so yeah, that building that kind of offensive line, that's exciting. Can't wait to do that. April 2nd, let's get it started. Let's go.
I mean, he is right. Offensive line is the only position in the NFL, in just the game of football, that there's not an excuse if that guy is bad, if your left tackle is bad, if your entire offensive line as a unit is bad. There aren't a lot of excuses to explain it other than that guy just wasn't good enough against that individual player. And everyone else on the team is relying on your offensive line to be good.
100%. And I think that's what happened in my era of playing around that 2000 and let's say 11, 12, 13, 14 era is when the appreciation of, I think, offensive lines went up even more. I think the pay that quarterbacks were getting, how they were devaluing the running back essentially at the same time also, because if your quarterback can't stay on the field, then that means you can't win games. How do you keep your quarterback on the field with strong offensive line units? The issue that Harbaugh has in saying that around draft season, now, if that's just his concept, that's one thing. But when it comes down to his issue is he already has a really good left tackle. And the number one guy is Joe Alt, unless he reaches for another guy like Fashanu or somebody else, right? Tyler Fuaga, right? Those are the three bigs right there when it comes down to that group. If we're discussing draft conversation around Harbaugh, taking a Fashanu or Tyler Fuaga at 5, I don't think makes sense because Joe Alt is a left tackle and you already got Slater as your left tackle. Their issue is they can upgrade at right tackle to me when it comes down to what their plans should be unless they move back. The entire conversation that he has, I 100% agree with. That's why we are always so bitter every single time as a group. I'll be honest with you, the DNA of offensive linemen, except for the ones that you're all-pro, perennial first-round guys and stuff like that, and even those dudes, is you never get any respect, you never get any praise, but you need us to make this thing work. And I'll say this too, we also are a type of group that need talent also. You can't just plug in a body and say that guy is going to be good. I think that is a huge misconception, too. That's why when you tell me a guy has talent, a lot of talent, I'm going to use Peter Skoronski, for instance, right? He has a lot of talent, but he's a guy that has to play a specific place in the NFL to be good, great, your Pro Bowl all-pro guy. He's a really good left tackle out of college, great. But understanding how to put a player in a position to where he's going to excel at the higher level because of his talent, I'm talking about one of the most underrated things is knowing where and how. That's why I always appreciated Coach Munch. It's because the understanding of how to coach that unit to get the best out of them, is more important than saying, hey, just give me 5 bodies. No, it's a matter of where guys fit. If you look at Lloyd Cushenberry, most coaches would probably put him at a guard tackle, but he's better suited as a center because of his size, his ability, his hips, his strength, his arm length. Those things make sense. And that's also having coaches, Munch, and now Coach Callahan, how to build and place those guys in the proper position. That's why I also give just a little bit more grace than others to Dylan Radins, too. And I know it's a dead topic when it comes to a lot of Titans fans, but where has he been consistently to actually build him up?
Sure.
To say he's going to get better? Nowhere.
So Jim Harbaugh's quote again, they're not relying on any other position to be good, offensive linemen. They go out, yet every other position group relies on the offensive line to be good. Do you think Jim Harbaugh is telling us just out in the open, caught on 4K, that he's taking Joe Alt with the number 5 overall pick?
I think if you're a team that – no, I don't think so.
His
Absolutely
wide receivers,
not.
to reset before you answer fully, Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Darius Davis are his 3 starting wide receivers right now. He only has one other one on the roster, a backup who I have never heard of.
He has a need-based draft. He needs a wide receiver.
Offensive line, to compare, from left to right, Rashawn Slater, former Boston College guard Zion Johnson, who was a big target for the Titans a couple of years ago, Corey Linsley, Jamari Sawyer, and Trey Pipkins III.
For context in this, so the new offensive coordinator of the Chargers, Greg Roman, when Lamar had his first MVP year with Greg Roman, his wide receivers were Willie Snead, Seth Robinson, and Hollywood Brown, another first-round receiver. But his plan is to come in and run the ball. He's going to run the ball. J.K. Dobbins is visiting the Chargers today. And on the other side of it, Rashawn Slater after this year, has a 5th-year option available, which is going to come in around $19 million. For a cap-strapped team, I wonder if that might be too much. And they just play Joe Alt 1 year at right tackle, and then he's your left tackle next year.
Right.
And Slater hasn't had – last year was the best pass-blocking year of his career, but it was the worst offensive and run-block grade that he has received from PFF. Also gave the most hurries up he's given up in a single season.
Yeah, it's interesting with L.A. They could do what the Titans did with Michael Roos back in the day. You draft him, you put him at right tackle, then you move him to left tackle.
Eventually.
After the first couple seasons, yeah.
The issue that they'll have this year is where to play Alt, because as it stands, their right tackle, Trey Pipkins, is a guy that's still under contract that has guaranteed money left. Their out for him is after next year. Do you draft a number 5 overall tackle and sit him because you're planning for the next few years? The answer to me is no, unless they're just going to find a trade partner for Trey Pipkins, which, again, he's okay. He's all right as a right tackle. There's always somebody there to upgrade you, but they have a cap lock situation for him.
So if they traded Trey Pipkins after June 1st, they would save $6.2 million against the cap in 2024. They would have a 2025 and 2024 dead cap number of only $2.5 million. So if they did really want to trade Trey Pipkins to somebody for a pick swap, for a day 3 selection, likely what you're going to get at that point, then you would have the freedom to do that in a post-June 1st trade. Or you could just straight up release him after June 1st, and you'd only have $8.7 million of dead cap. However, you wouldn't save anything if you just cut him.
Anything is possible when it comes down to coaches putting players anywhere, but do you want the consensus All-American left tackle, number 1 draft pick, Joe Alt, moving over to the right side just to move? You're moving 2 pieces to satisfy 1. If you're eventually saying you're going to get rid of Rashawn Slater and put him at left. Like, to me, that makes no sense in the sense of Rashawn Slater is a good offensive lineman when it comes down to his play. His issue is, to me, is they don't have enough weapons at wide receiver to be able to have a sustainable offense. And you're right, Bert. The idea that Greg Roman's going to run the ball, but they're fine on the offensive line. They do need some playmaking threats down the field. And 5 is too rich to draft a guy, in my opinion, to sit him. They're locked in unless they're going to have, like you said, a second go well when it comes down to Trey Pipkin. He got to have a trade partner also.
At Ramon Kayla Will on Twitter is where you can vote on our poll this morning that says, if Joe Alt is gone, who do you want at number 7? Malik Neighbors, Dallas Turner, Rome Odunze, or Olu Fashanu. 59% of you are picking Malik Neighbors, and we're clearly watching his pro day yesterday at LSU. 42 inches in the vertical yesterday, Ramon Foster. ESPN's Adam Schefter reminding us all on Twitter that there are some NFL personnel people who believe Malik Neighbors is this draft class's top wideout. He is fast. His time at the 40-yard dash was anywhere from the mid 4.3s to 4.4, according to scouts who were there. And a guy that finished as LSU's all-time receiving leader with over 3,000 yards, 189 catches, 21 touchdowns in 3 seasons. Is he the next choice if Joe Alt does become an LA Charger at number 5?
Mine is Dallas Turner.
You're still on this train, aren't you?
I am. If I can't have Alt, I told you, I'm pro Alt all the way. It makes sense. It's one of those things like, yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? You look at yourself and you say, Joe Alt is a no-brainer. It solidifies that left side if you believe in what Peter Skoronski can do, what Brian Callahan can call, and the development of Bill Callahan with this entire offensive line. Then you say we take him. If he's there, if the Chargers do make the decision to go after Joe Alt and your guy isn't there anymore, I'm taking Dallas. It's just that simple to me. When it comes down to solidifying the defensive side of the ball more than the offensive side, I think Dallas Turner does more for you in an immediate sense, the same way that we saw Houston get the same production out of Will Anderson. Because at the end of the day, the offense is what's going to sell tickets and bring people in the seats, but defenses win at the end of the day. They just simply do. This defense got grinded to a pulp, I feel like, last year. It wasn't bad. The run stopping of this team was really, really good. Getting after the quarterback was an issue. And now you got a secondary that can be bolstered up right now with a front line of Arden, Harold, Jeff, and a Dallas Turner. I mean, we're cooking with gas at that point. We're not even talking about the coverage of the inside linebackers when it comes down to Kenneth Murray. We're talking about, can the quarterback get the ball off in this sense?
It is interesting. The Dallas Turner option is a good one, I think. 11 sacks in 2023 for him, 19.5% pass rush win rate. I mean, he is widely considered as the best edge rusher in this draft. Coach Mack told us that last week. We're going to talk to him in under an hour at 7:20 this morning about edge rushers again. But to me, it feels like for this team over the next 3 seasons, you could supplement who you have now with a good, not great pass rusher and still have a lot of success getting after the quarterback. Yes, the luxury of having Dallas Turner would be nice, but I don't know how much longer DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley are going to be around. And to me, I'm planning for the next 5 years by taking a wide receiver if Joe Alt isn't there with the number 7 overall pick. Now, I have been on the Joe Alt left tackle train at number 7, and I am not willing to move away from it. But the idea now of Malik Neighbors, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins all on the same offense, you immediately have maybe the best wide receiving core in the AFC South if Will Levis can get them the ball. I mean, genuinely, there are not many better receiving trios than Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Malik Neighbors if you do end up being able to get that.
I 100% agree with you on that one. That right there should scare people.
Absolutely, it should.
And it sets you up to where you can let go of D-Hop, let Neighbors grow for a year. You also have a 30-year-old Calvin Ridley, where the young guy behind him, and you also have Traylon behind him, too. It pushes. Good makes good better, right? Good on good is what coaches always tell us. But when you look at the roles of these defensive players that the Titans have currently on this roster, who are your pass rush specialists? Big Jeff up the middle, who can get double team. You got Harold, who got hot last year, and I think will have a better late last year, and I think will have a better season this year, 2 years removed from the ACL. We had a discussion yesterday. We said, what's the role of Arden Key? His win rate and how he gets to the quarterback is a specialty for the most part. His ability to play down after down and get after the quarterback to grab him. That's one thing I would say about Clowney. Clowney is effective as heck when it comes down to him getting in the backfield. Do we see Arden doing those types of things in this offense? Play after first, second, third down. Rep after rep, series after series? The answer would be no, and his stats tell us that too. The one thing you will get with Malik Neighbors, with Dallas Turner, I'm thinking I'm about to win you the argument here. The one thing we'll get with Dallas Turner is consistency of getting up the field and flushing out the quarterback. That, to me, I think bodes well as far as turnovers are concerned. A team that was really low in interceptions last year to get the offensive ball. And the thing that I would be hesitant on when it comes down to the wide receiver to me, and I love the idea of a Malik Neighbors, but it is, can Will Levis get him the ball also and operate? Again, from Harbaugh's conversation a second ago, you have to depend on the success of somebody else at other positions beside the offensive line. You get mixed success when it comes down to believing that a defensive end like Dallas Turner can get to the quarterback better than your wide receiver. A young wide receiver can get the ball. And then the other side of that for me is when you mention D-Hop and also Calvin Ridley, what benefit is it to have that high of a draft pick when you know 1 and 2? And then I even think Traylon gets a stab at the ball before Malik Neighbors does in this offense.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think Malik Neighbors day one is over Traylon Burks in the hierarchy of this offense.
But okay, how many yards does a third wide receiver have for the most part in most offenses?
I think Brian Callahan wants that third wide receiver to have 600 to 800 yards.
Okay, all right. So when it comes down to drafting a number 5 guy, and you want to talk impact instantly, 500 yards versus having a guy that can go get you 8, 9, 10 sacks in year one to get you the ball back too.
Maybe not. I mean, with how much pressure Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry get on their own, I don't know if Dallas Turner is getting home that much to have 9 or 10 sacks, but I think you could get a guy in the second or fourth round who can add you 6 to 8 sacks because the secondary is so good and guys aren't going to be open right away. That is where I'm looking and saying DeAndre Hopkins has 1 year left in his contract. We have no idea if DeAndre Hopkins wants to stick around here after 2024. Calvin Ridley and Malik Neighbors are probably your 1 and 2 in 2025 if you are able to draft Malik Neighbors. To me, it's less, like we always talk about, it's less about drafting for this team. It's more about drafting for the next 3 teams.
If we're talking Super Mario Brothers, right? I think you get a mushroom to make yourself better with a Dallas Turner more than you can a Malik Neighbors at this point. And it all depends on Will Levis getting him the ball also.
Will is saying that Malik Neighbors is a star if we're making the Mario Party analogy.
Well, what happens to the star for the most part? It comes and go quick. Dallas Turner gets there all the time.
Every time I talk about Malik Neighbors, you should just play that music in the background.
Right there.
I can. Let me see what I can do.
And you know what happens after that? It's gone that quick, man. 400 yards for a rookie. But we're talking about 8, 10 sacks, couple strip fumbles, and pressure on the opposing team. On the opposing team's quarterback. And that to me is probably more problematic than saying, hey, we got to rely on getting down the field offensively. I'd much rather be in Trevor Lawrence's face. I'd much rather C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson more than saying, let's go over the top.
That's why I want Darius Robinson with pick number 38.
I think both of you are right because if linebacker does not improve, then setting the edge is going to be incrementally more important than it is in previous years.
And then the depth of that, too. The quality of the defensive line, to me.
It's an interesting discussion. It really is. And I'm surprised that so few people are saying Olu Fashanu at 7 would be fine with them. Again, I think a great scenario is, you move back to the 11th or 13th pick. But I said this at the beginning of the draft process. I think it is the most cliche lazy cop-out answer to just say, oh, just trade back. With who? Who are they moving up for?
Gotta have
Who's your partner? What are you getting in return? The arbitrary, well, I just want to trade back. Gets so old to me this time of year.
Well,
maybe
before we break,
Yeah, okay, cool. Because I want to talk about why the trade back, but we can do that too.
what wins championships?
Offense.
Stop.
In 2024, with the way this league is constructed.
Wait, no.
615-737-1045. We'll continue the discussion
Chris Jones.
next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with Members Nutrition. Maybe you heard me talk about the Youthful Cleanse here lately. A great cleanse, simple cleanse by Daily Defense, but they bring so much more when it comes to supplements, bringing them to you at an affordable cost, quality supplements at a fraction of the normal retail cost, and made right here in the USA. No matter what type of supplement you're looking for, they have it. Let's maybe say immunity supplements, because this is the time of year that we're all feeling a little bit down, and they've got plenty to choose from, including weight loss, detox, like I mentioned, with the cleanse, men's health, women's health, even relaxation supplements. They have it all. And now they are giving you, the listener, a little bit extra off the already discounted prices, offering 50% off your purchase on the already discounted prices. No code needed. The discount is automatically applied at checkout. And the website, you can go to it now to check out all the different types of supplements, all different categories. Just go to membersnutrition.com. That's membersnutrition.com.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose, 615-737-1045. Who has the better NFL career, Ramon Foster? Malik Neighbors or Dallas Turner?
I think they both would be good, Will. Who has the best?
Who do you like more in terms of best available prospects?
Best available? For this team, is to me, it's Dallas Turner.
But not even for this team, just in general. Who has the best career?
Who has the best? That's circumstantial.
Okay.
It is. It depends upon the quarterback, where that team is, who's on that team also in the support. There's a lot that goes into saying this guy's going to be good. You look at, Johnny Football, right? His situation. You look at Baker Mayfield's situation. You look at anybody that's gone to Cleveland and say they were supposed to be good. Zach Wilson's situation. He was supposed to make the New York Jets a good team. They were badly run, and then he turns into a trash quarterback also. And so you say those things, but it's always circumstantial, and it all depends upon the coaches and the players that are on that team too.
And I only ask just to put some kind of statement on the record of best available prospect, because we talk so much about how the tiebreaker when you're between two prospects as well is to go with the best available. Well, who is the best available at that point? I do think it is very difficult to judge an edge rusher versus a wide receiver.
It is, because here's the thing too. The wide receiver is dependent upon the quarterback's ability to get him the ball, right? And then, of course, if you have a guy that becomes really good as a rusher or a defensive player, it all depends on how they get double teamed and how you attack them too. And injuries play a part in it. So if Malik Neighbors has a healthy season and Dallas Turner doesn't, does that mean Malik Neighbors is better, or does that mean that Dallas Turner just got injured?
Right. Mike Herndon at NFL, at Mike Herndon NFL on Twitter, had just put out trade back scenarios as I was ranting about how I hate it when people just arbitrarily talk about, well, just trade back, but they don't actually give the scenario of which it would make sense. Bert, I know you've looked into this quite a bit, because there are partners that would work behind you. Minnesota, I think, now becomes more of an option for the number 3 overall pick with New England, or the number 4 overall pick with Arizona. Because Minnesota, in my opinion, there is 0% chance they give you the 11th and 23rd overall picks to move up 4 spots to 7.
Yeah.
But you've got the Broncos, who don't have a second-round pick, who could be incentivized to move up from 12, but if they can only give you pick number 76, number 12, and then something in 2025, I'm good. I'm saying no thanks at that point, because I need players now if you're telling me to move back. And then you've got the Raiders, who've got picks 13, 44, and 77. The Raiders, to me, are the most likely trade partner for the Titans if they did want to move back from 7. But how much are you willing to move back 6 picks from 7 to 13? That's the question.
And the other side, like you said, the issue is you need another playmaker for this squad too, as far as the Titans are concerned. Picking in the top 10 again is, you don't want to be in there. I've heard Coach Mack say that as of late. You don't want to be a team that's consistently picking in the top 10. This is one of those years that you hope is your last time doing that. So getting one of the better players in the top 10, to me, I think is more important than trying to say, all right, let's go find another guy. I love to have that 3 back. But hearing Rand, even on our show, say we've been preparing, without the draft, without the 3 for this draft for a very long time. There are plans already made to make it happen. If you can get Malik Neighbors, Dallas Turner, Joe Alt, if he's still there, I think you do go get one of those guys. Yeah. Trading back has to be, I'm talking about, wrapped up in a bow for you, that you know you're going to get another dude because you see a trend in the draft also.
My only issue with trading back is I don't know if they have a partner if 4 quarterbacks go before 7.
Exactly.
I don't think there's going to be a scenario where someone trades up into the first round for a wide receiver and offensive tackle, given the depth of those positions. So you have to be okay with a scenario where they stick and pick. As much as I would like Rand to have more picks, as much as I would like him to recoup a 3rd in this year or next year's draft, that scenario just might not be available. Or it might be available, but you might have to move farther back than you're willing to move back. It might be someone at 18, 19, 20 that wants to come up for an elite prospect rather than sit outside the 16 first-round grades that when we had Matt Miller on about 2 weeks ago, he talked about there's only 16 first-round grades in this draft, despite the depth, despite the talent. Maybe someone outside of that wants to come in and grab a guy, but in doing that, you also take yourself out of grabbing a top 16 player.
Right.
From where y'all know the top prospects are right now, is there a prospect that would tick you off if it came down to them picking any particular guy if there's only 16? Is there anybody that's going to tick you off with any of these picks? Because it seems like from 1 to 15, it is very solid.
In the top 10, none of these options would make me mad.
Right.
I don't even think Bowers would make me mad.
And that's what I'm saying.
At 7,
I
Brock
know.
Bowers
I would be
disappoint me.
perturbed. I would be perturbed, but I wouldn't be
100%.
upset. I would trust that their vision offensively would make sense, that they were going to use him uniquely to make it him a corner piece of this offense.
Sure.
If you were going to sell that to me, then maybe I could buy that bill of goods.
Right.
But I would find a way. It's kind of like every draft. Everybody's like, man, I hope we don't draft that guy. And then they draft that guy. Very similar to Will Levis last year, where it's like, well, Let's eat chicken salad out of chicken poop. You know what I mean? You're always going to make it up in your mind. You're always going to make it seem like it makes sense. Like, well, he's going to be all right. I was wrong about that guy.
It's true. And that is the luxury of picking number 7 is there are less players that you're just totally out on.
Yeah. And I don't think you're wrong about Malik Neighbors. And I think Dallas Turner can be a really good rusher here in the AFC South.
I'd be great with Dallas Turner.
But you much rather.
They take the second best rusher.
Now, see, that's a conversation that have to be had then because Jacksonville picking who's their number 1 pick a few years ago?
Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker.
Oof.
That was questionable to me.
Still is.
Like, that was questionable.
Or the Raiders taking Cleveland Farrell over Josh Allen. It happens a lot.
Come on.
It's all about general manager's perception of the talent.
Man, I saw a tweet yesterday that said, I think it was from our friend Mark Nagy in Knoxville, that said, if Al Davis had gone to Joe Milton's pro day, he'd draft him in the first round.
I saw there was an accident on the highway the other day. Somebody had a football go through their windshield. I was like, should have known. Vols pro day today.
I've got a soapbox I'm going to have to get on, like I never get on soapboxes on this show. Soapbox I got to get on about Joe Milton later. We'll save that for later in the show. 615-737-1045 is our number. We've got Sweet 16 basketball tonight, and we've got a national reporter who is not known for good opinions giving, listen to this, a bad opinion. I'm sure you'll be shocked about the Tennessee Titans on a national show next.
All right, it is March. My goodness, it's almost April to tell you the truth. But the moral of the story is it's getting a little bit warmer out there. It's supposed to be a beautiful day today. Maybe it is time then to crack open your windows, do some spring cleaning. And when you do open those windows and get in the cool breeze, make sure that they're opening properly. If they're cracked, leaking, or they just won't stay open, now is the time to call our friends at Window Nation, because that probably means any new windows. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. Plus, right now, 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 24 months. Great deal.
No doubt about it. On top of that, Kayla, over 20,000 online positive reviews. They've installed over 200,000 windows in the last year. That's 40 times more than the average company, man. Windows is all they do, okay? As Kayla just told you, buy 2, get 2 free, and pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. Reach out to them at 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
7:01. What's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Madness back tonight with 4 games, starting with Arizona Clemson at 6:10, UConn San Diego State at 6:40, UNC and Alabama at 8:40, and at 9:10 Illinois and Iowa State. Jadeveon Clowney making a big signing yesterday, returning home to the Carolina Panthers after playing in Rock Hill, South Carolina, signing a 2-year, $20 million deal worth up to $24 million. Last year, Clowney played all 17 games. It was the second time in his career he's played every game in the season, also tying his career high in sacks with 9.5. Vols had their pro day yesterday, and Joe Milton's cannon was on full display, having to leave the indoor facility so his passes would stop hitting the roof. Milton ran a 4.55 at 245 pounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Roasted, hour number 2 on a Thursday morning. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good morning so far. Starting off a frigid Thursday in Middle Tennessee. Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh, Will Balding with you. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. 615-737-1045 is how we jump in. Sweet 16 coverage is right here on 104.5 The Zone this weekend, courtesy of Old South Properties and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Westwood One's coverage of the men's Sweet 16 and Elite 8 all weekend here in the Zone. And coming up tonight, we have got a great slate of games. Clemson, Arizona at 6:09. San Diego State, UConn, a national championship rematch at 6:39. Alabama, UNC, a heavyweight matchup at 8:39. And Illinois, Iowa State, which honestly is right up there with Alabama UNC as well. Is a great game. Coming up at 9:09. Going to be good?
It is. The only glitch in the system to me is Clemson. Are they that official? They've proven it. They seem to play well. They got Duke, I think, later in the season in the ACC play and everything, and they've proven to be a squad that can play ball, and they are aggressive, man. That's the only one that I side-eye when it comes down to these games tonight. And
6-1. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and not knowing what they're going to do and what they're capable of.
Sure. One note on the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, where you can watch the show, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Please.
And you can comment right there. That was a close one right there.
That was close.
Texas Titan writes in and says, what's the deal with not uploading podcasts this week? They have been uploaded. But I answer this question simply because there are some issues sometimes with Apple Podcasts, because Apple Podcasts are not the best platform, or Spotify sometimes. If it looks like podcasts are not uploading on our show, unsubscribe and then resubscribe. And sometimes that refreshes the feed and fixes it. So a question we get often that I feel is necessary to let people know and remind people that every hour of every show is podcasted wherever you download podcasts. Subscribe to Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Apple actually just put out a notice that said if you hadn't reviewed the podcast and you'd listened to more than 5 episodes, it wouldn't show up. So if that happens, just leave a review. It has to be 5-star. You won't get to listen to the podcast ever again because I'll block you. Then we can move forward with your audio listening needs.
I did hear that too. I got that email, Bert. But I was able to.
It was a group chain. We were all on it, yeah.
I thought so.
Guys, we encourage you to listen locally when it comes to the Tennessee Titans, because national people don't think you deserve to have a good football team. And even when you do have a good football team, they don't take it seriously. When you don't have a good football team, they won't take you seriously. People like Nick Wright on Fox Sports 1, who we probably shouldn't give a ton of oxygen, but you know what? When you're this bad at talking Titans, then we at least get the chance to react to it. This was Nick Wright on FS1 yesterday.
The division's 8-9 instead of 9-8
this year, don't you think?
So Well,
Houston's going to be good.
That's
Jacksonville is what
I
it
think
is.
Houston and Jacksonville are
Titans should
fine.
be better.
Titans are
they'll be
somehow
better.
going for it.
They are going for it.
Oh, I
They're
think
going
the
for it.
Titans might end up with
You
the
don't
number
think
one
they?
pick.
Why are they
really?
signing everybody?
Yeah, because I think they're poorly run.
Wow.
Maybe.
I think.
but-
Nah,
You think the Titans are going to be good?
I mean, they're
I think
trying.
they're going to be competitive.
They're
They're
trying.
going to be competitive.
Okay.
Well, I'm
They're
just
trying
saying,
to-
the other teams are not
I
trying.
wish they had kept Vrabel and signed all these guys, to be honest.
That's
But
hurting.
Yeah, but you know why they didn't keep Vrabel? Because they're poorly run.
the division's
So that was Nick Wright on FS1 yesterday.
That was a fart.
To remind you guys, Nick Wright is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Can anybody remind me what Kansas City Chiefs owner Clark Hunt was rated by the NFLPA survey
F+.
in terms of owners? He was rated as the worst owner in the National Football League. You know why we don't talk about the Chiefs as a poorly run organization?
Because they're winning?
Because Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback, and they surrounded him with good players. How dare the Titans try to surround their young quarterback with good players? If the Titans weren't spending, he would say the exact same things. Oh, well, they're not even trying to help their quarterback. They're a poorly run organization. They're just trying to sit here and draft players, and maybe they're getting defensive guys, but they're not even trying. Then the Titans try. They spend a lot of money. Oh, they're poorly run. They all they do is spend money and spend money. Listen locally when it comes to coverage of the local professional football team. People like Nick Wright don't think we as a market deserve good football because he is not willing to understand or do any more coverage other than, oh, Derrick Henry had some good runs there. He doesn't know anything about the Titans, so don't give him space in your brain.
And when it comes down to Chris Broussard's comment on keeping Vrabel, like you're at this point because of that change. Like the reason that you were losing or the reason why the culture had to change is because of that particular coach. And I think Vrabel's a good coach when it comes down to it. But seeing these moves be made, the way in which this offense is moving into a different regime, how it was ran as of late with the players, with the way they spoke about it, with how they the play on the field. There's only so far the tough man identity can take you. And I think that's why change had to be made. Saying you should have done it with the coach, maybe come inside the city and have a conversation or go to the front office and talk to the people that make these type of moves. That was such a blanket statement because I agree with you, Will. It's of the mindset that let's just poke the bear when it comes down to the Tennessee Titans fan base without even understanding how this franchise was ran or the decisions that was made to get to that actual point of firing. It was a low clickbait comment to say should have just kept Vrabel. That to me is they want to engage this fan base more than anything.
Honestly, that's the only way that national people think they can talk about the Titans because we're talking about it. We just played the clip. A lot of you tweeted it at us and filled up the F&M Bank chat with reactions to it. And by doing that, we are all creating a market for these bad opinions to happen. And for people to say, look, the only way I can get Titans fans to engage with me in their mind is to make fun of them, is to belittle them. I am of the opinion that this is a big fan base. It's a good fan base. It's an intelligent football fan base that could actually partake in deeper discussions about the football team. But these national people don't respect this market enough to have actual conversations about this football team because they don't respect this market and they don't respect the Tennessee Titans. And look, when you throw 3 interceptions to the Bengals and you lose in the first round the way that the Titans did, you don't do yourself any favors, and I get that. But this is a guy who spends 99% of his time talking about the Chiefs and LeBron James. So please do not let his opinions on the Titans have any space in your brain.
Also,
Well,
just to, I didn't mean to step on
No,
your
go
toe.
ahead.
Just to come out and say they might have the number 1 pick next year, I think you could point to a handful of teams that are in worse situations, i.e. the Raiders, who are picking at 13 and still have a 5th-round quarterback who's slated to start for them. There's a number of teams you could point at and say, oh, Carolina, they did spend a lot of money this offseason, but they have a rookie coach as well. They have Bryce Young. I mean, I wouldn't point to the Titans as, yep, they're going to have the first pick. I feel like that's just lazy and pointed to me.
And it's not just those couple of teams right there. It's the Jets and all the things they did to try to go get a guy like Aaron Rodgers who crapped the bed, or how they went and drafted Zach Wilson. You mentioned Carolina's situation. For years, it was Cleveland. And other times, it was Jacksonville. And other times, it was Houston. Right now, it may be Denver. But you don't have that conversation because here's the thing behind it, too. The truth is the people that are in the know that talk to the people that make these decisions, other NFL GMs, I think Jimmy Wyatt had it in his article, other GMs coming up to your GM and coach and asking questions on how did you guys make these moves? Because the profile is changing. When profile changes, it interrupts stuff for teams like that. And you also took one of his cornerbacks if he's a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. There's residual in everything for him. And I think Will and Bert right when it comes down to the conversation of the only way to engage this fan base is to trash it.
Yeah. It's not even pretending to know about the Titans. That's the thing. You could pretend. You could make a statement about Rand Carthon and about the direction of this franchise and have a take from miles away from what's actually going on in the building. And like, yeah, no, I think Rand is trying to build this thing in the way San Francisco was built his time under John Lynch. Like, you could make one connection and do 1 minute of reading a little bit about the Titans and have a legit conversation. He's not even pretending to know anything about the Titans. Because let's be honest, like, he doesn't know anything about what's going on in this building. He's a Kansas City and LeBron James guy. Who cares? Anthony on Twitter, at Ramon K. LaWill. He's probably one of those guys that questions why we paid Ridley and not A.J. Brown. That's 100% right. 100% right.
I love that.
Nick Wrong at it again. 615-737-1045. Coming up next, Coach Dave McGinnis. That's a guy that knows a lot about the Titans. Guy that knows a lot about edge rushers in the NFL draft. We're going to talk about him next.
It's Ramon Foster for Artisan Custom Closets. Get a jump on spring cleaning and transform your home into an oasis of calm with Artisan Custom Closets. Say goodbye to clutter and hello to the custom storage solutions that are made to suit you, your style, and your budget. If you're tired of unorganized chaos in your closets, garage, or offices, let the expert designers at Artisan Custom Closets help you get organized in any space in your home, from walk-in closets to pantries, garages, or laundry rooms. Artisan Custom Closets, they are local and is not a large chain business. And not only are they local, but their products are manufactured in the Southeast. It's not cookie cutter at all. Items are customized for your home. So start with a free in-house consultation and take advantage of the multiple financing options available to making getting organized easier than ever. Bring some calm and get organized. You can call them at 615-800-2199 or visit artisancustomclosets.com.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone, rocking and rolling on a Friday Junior edition. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. Robert Walsh making the show happen as always. And we are joined by Titans Radio's head coach, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. He is Coach Dave McGinnis. What's up, Coach Mack? How are you?
Will, Ramon, how we doing, guys? I just had my conversation with Bert before I got on the air with you guys about the new kickoff rule. It's a fascinating conversation, and you guys need to listen to Bert some.
We honestly do. And, Coach Mack, I was going to start with this because it feels like the real breakdown and segment happens between you guys before this segment on the radio actually begins. Robert calls you way earlier than he calls any of our other normal guests.
We have a pretty good conversation every time, and it's worth listening to.
It really is. When Robert's not talking about tackling guys open in space, he's really got some good things to say, doesn't he?
Well, that's a pipe dream. He knows it, and we all know it. He knows it. He just, he does a lot of things just for fun with the microphone that he's got now in his job, and that was one of those that was a pipe dream.
Coach Mack, he came in here early this morning because he loves draft talk in this time of the year, too, with another pipe dream, okay? He's talking about these twins out of, like, North Dakota or South Dakota State or something like that. He just wants on his fantasy team, Coach Mack, and I asked him, how good are they? And he couldn't tell me that, Coach Mack, but he loves them because they're twins.
Well, that's got something to it. I mean, yeah, Bert, it'd be interesting to see the type of squad he would put together. Because he may have some twins on there. He may have some people that had never played football before. He may had some people that were having pipe dreams like he's had that can't play dead in a Western starting for him. So who knows?
Can't play dead in a Western. That is immediately my new Coach Mack phrase. That is terrific.
Similar to their last name, Coach, my team would be very janky. If you're not familiar with the Janky twins out of South Dakota State, give them a watch.
Lord.
Give them a watch.
Coach Mack with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford. If you came for South Dakota State Jackrabbit conversation, you came to the right place. Coach Mack, talking about the kickoff, how different will the kick return position look, or are guys like Cordero Patterson and just straight line top end speed guys still going to be needed returning kicks?
Well, it's not just the straight line top end speed guys, and the returner part of it is part of it. But this is going to be schemed up now. I spent a lot of time. I was telling Bert in our real football conversation before we got on here. I was telling Bert, I visited with John Fossil, Bones, who was with us for 5 years at the Rams, who's a big part of this. He's a special teams coach at the Cowboys. Big part of implementing this and presenting this to the league. We talked about this at the Combine, and he's been on this for a while with special teams coach from New Orleans, special teams coach from Chicago. I mean, all of them have been into this, because it had become a non-play, and Mike Keith was way ahead of the curve on this. He's been saying this on Titans radio just to us, he said this is a non-play anymore. And now all of a sudden, it's not just going to be the returner, Will. It's going to be schemed up. It's going to be an in motion running play. Is what it's going to be. Because it's going to be, you're going to see pin and pull schemes. You're going to see, you can put the wedge back into it now. There's a lot that's going to go into this. And so it's going to be fascinating. I mean, I watched the XFL. I was fascinated watching that work week to week to week. Those special teams coaches did a lot of different things. The special teams coaches in the National Football League, it's going to be a very fascinating experiment this year to watch and see how each of these special teams coaches attacks this part of the game, because it's going to be much more than just having those guys, very close together, just dropping back, blocking one-on-one. This is going to be a schemed up play. It's going to be a running play. It's going to be a running play that it's going to be the whole group starting in motion with a running play. And as I said, with pin and pull schemes, you're going to have guys coming across the field to block. I mean, and with that, the coverage units they're going to swap lanes. They're going to do a lot of different things. It's going to be fun to watch. And plus, you're going to get a lot of returns.
Coach Mack with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Coach Mack, how good of a kick returner can Tajay Spears be in this new system?
Well, Tajay Spears is really good in space, but it's more than being in space. It's being able to visualize and see an opening before it happens. That's what great vision runners do, and he's got great vision. That's why he's so good at what he does. And then plus he's got contact balance. You need a guy that's going to be able to do those types of things and then have contact balance, because you're not going to get everybody blocked, but he's going to get a running start. He'd be really good at it. I mean, because he's a good player.
Coach Mack, special team coaches are probably salivating over the idea that they actually get an opportunity to call and run plays and have an immediate impact to score. What does it do, Coach Mack, for their input on the type of players that you keep for special teams also? Because I think there's a component of that has to also change too. Do you put an extra offensive lineman out there? Is there a guy that can't necessarily play linebacker for you, but he's going to be a stud of a special teams return type of guy to set up these blocks now? Because you take away the impact, but you also got to have an element of physicality out there now.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're going to have to be able to play in space, because that's what it is. I mean, it's a space game there. And the other thing is, you can't have somebody that's just all they do, because you only have 46 active on Sunday. All right, so you've got to be able to have a dual. You're going to have to be able to have a dual role. But the fact of the matter is yes, it depends on how their people are going to set it up. Well, what I think is really going to happen, and again, I talked with my head coach Bert on our talk before we got on air here. The thing it's going to affect too, and the rule that is going to affect the way you change maybe one or two of the positions on your roster, is the fact now that your third quarterback can come from the practice squad. Okay, so that's going to open up another spot, and so it's going to be really, really interesting to see which type of personnel that these special teams coaches choose to use, not only on the coverage team, but also on the return team. It's going to be very interesting to see. I still think your same special teams players, your core teamers, will probably be some of the same, but it's going to be different in the way you're not having the 40-yard sprint now. You're not having to go back and set up 10 yards from the receiver now, and it's going to be a different skill set. Still going to be a in space skill set, but it'll affect a couple of spots. But I think the biggest thing is that the quarterback issue now opens up another spot for somebody else, probably on the teams.
Another thing that has to change around the league for a certain amount of players, Coach Mack, is the hip drop tackle. How big of or small of an issue is this?
Well, I mean, Ron Slay yesterday said a really smart thing, which I'll give him a lot of credit. He asked me yesterday on 3HL, how do you unteach something you've never taught? I mean, I've taught tackling for 44 years in my career. I didn't even know what a hip drop tackle is. I loved it. I love the fact that Keith Bullock said, I'd never heard of a hip drop tackle. Nobody's ever taught me that. I don't think it's taught now. I mean, it's not something that's been taught. It's something I think that came about as far as just, smaller defensive players trying to get bigger running backs or bigger tight ends or, down on the ground. And look, it was voted 32-0, so it's going to be in. And so defensive coaches, just like all defensive coaches throughout the iteration of rule changes in the National Football League, have had to adapt to not using the helmet. They've had to learn how to tackle different, with that part of it, had to adapt to the way that you attack the quarterback, which is completely different, had to adapt to the way that you defend the middle of the field with the pass. They've had to adapt to all of that, so they'll adapt to this. But I don't know if anybody in the league has ever just taught, okay, this right here in our individual period, this is the hip drop tackle period. They've never taught it.
Coach David Geddes, presented by Two Rivers Ford, our guest every Thursday morning here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Coach Mack, we've been focusing on edge rushers this week in the NFL draft. I know we touched a bit on Dallas Turner out of Alabama last week in our conversation with you. As you look at the top three edge rushers in Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Leatu Latu out of UCLA, how do you differentiate those three guys as prospects? I know that's a broad question, but where is the separation amongst these guys? Are those three kind of separated from 4, 5, and 6 at that position in your eyes?
No, absolutely they are. Those three are in the top tier, and they're all different. Dallas Turner is the best of all of them, because he's got length, he's got bend, he's got speed, he's got explosion. He's the best one. He'll work off of anywhere you want him to work, but he's the best one to me. Jared Verse is the next guy. Jared Verse is a bigger, more physical, stronger guy. He's got extremely quick first step explosion. You can see that on the tape, but he's a speed to power guy. Is what he is, and he's going to be an edge setter, but he's going to be a guy that can speed to power, through a soft shoulder on an edge. But he's a different type of player than Dallas Turner. Latu is a guy that's just very technically sound. Of course, I mean, I know that you guys have studied it. I know you talked to Rhett, and Rhett, I'm sure, has told you that he's got some medical issues. And especially with his neck, when he was medically retired for a while and then came back. But this guy has got combination rushes. He's the most technically sound of the two. Maybe not as physically gifted as those other two, but as far as technically sound. And then the other guy I think that's right on the fringe of this, that's going to take some work, but is different, but has all the explosive elements that you look for, is Chop Robinson at Penn State. But Dallas Turner is the best one, and then the other ones I think fall in line, right behind him.
It's interesting, Coach Mack, and Darius Robinson, the edge rusher out of Missouri, 6'5", 296 pounds, lined up over the B gap, over the tackle, and outside the tackle quite a bit last season at Missouri. He killed the Vols when Tennessee played Missouri. One of the best games he played last season. 9 sacks in 2023. Does he remind you a bit of Danico Autry in the way Autry was used and flourished in this Titans defense?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I really liked him at the Senior Bowl. I like his tape. Of course, I do all 20 weeks, once a week with Doug Matthews on Coach to Coach. We concentrate on the Southeastern Conference, so I've watched him a lot. Missouri had a good football team. They had a lot of players. Missouri has in this postseason All-Star games and also at the Combine. I really do like him. I think that's a very good comparison because he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger guy, got a long wingspan. He's got some thickness to him. He's got some punch to him. Not real bendy, but I mean he can go through you. He can go through your face. He can go around your edge. I like him a lot. I really do. The other guy that I like that's further down, but I think is going to have a chance, further down in the draft, in the belly of the draft, is this Marshawn Nealon kid from Western Michigan. I like him too because he's got length. He's got an excellent attack mentality to him. Again, watching him, in these All-Star games, his running buddy, Braden Fisk, that left and went to Florida State. I mean, they were together at Western Michigan. Those are two pretty high motor guys that I think are going to find a place, in this draft, and are going to make somebody some really nice pieces on their defense as far as at least rotational players early on in their career.
Coach Mack, when we as fans sometimes will always speak about, all right, trade back, trade up, all these trade scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah, but when and where does the real conversation about trades with teams on draft night actually start and happen?
Well, you talk about on draft night. A lot of them start now. I mean, I worked the phones for 31 years, and a lot of your phone work starts now. It starts a lot of it at some of these workouts, where everybody's together. A lot of it starts. Some of these things, start early on, like Minnesota did when they say, or when you say, you want to make a trade. Here's what we're thinking. Here's what we'd like to do. Some of the initial things start at the Combine, where everybody is. But now you're talking, Ramon, about specifically on draft day. It starts on draft day when the draft starts and the picks start coming off, sometimes a little bit different than you thought they were. Nobody knows how they're going to come off. Let's just get that. Everybody understand that. All of these mock drafts, they're great. People make money, which is great. It's great for the conversation, but nobody knows except for the decision makers that are in all of those rooms. Once that draft board starts to players start to evaporate off of that draft board, there's a lot of talk that goes on really, really quick. The phone lines are hot during that time. As I said, I worked those phones for 31 years, so I'm just telling you. And you do it 3 and 4 picks ahead of where you're going to pick because you got time constraints with every round of the draft. Everybody knows that. So it's a culmination of different phases of when that starts. But you don't really know until, if you're picking at the top of the draft, I mean, you're going to have your pick of some of the better players, but you don't really know how it's exactly going to fall until it starts falling. So it's a fluid process, is what I'm saying, and it happens right up till the minute sometimes as to when you're on the clock, Ramon.
Coach Mack, the Titans also shocked the NFL world last Friday evening by trading for L'Jarius Sneed. How do you think that conversation went with acquiring him and actually getting him to this Tennessee Titans team? And what does it add to that defense with a guy like him?
Well, I mean, you've got 2 starting corners now. I mean, your top 3 corners look a lot different than they did 3 weeks ago, for this team, and they're still adding to it. But I think there was an interest. I mean, I think both of these decision makers. I think Rand has said this, and then Brian Callahan said it. There was an interest early on. Of course, you were talking different with Sneed because he was a franchise player. Okay, he had the franchise tag on him, so you're going to have to be able to develop a trade. You're going to have to sign the tag. You have to develop a trade, and then compensation. As to what he's played himself into the ability with he and his representation to talk about a top contract. And so it always depends on how much money you've got, where you can allocate it. They have said that they missed on a couple of, could not get something done with a couple of people, so it freed some money up, so they got back into the conversation. And I think it came to fruition just because of the patience that the Titans showed. I mean, they showed initial interest. I mean, clearly when they vetted him, they liked him. I know that Denard Wilson was involved in that vetting process. He had to be looking at him, but it has to fit. It has to be able to fit money wise. And then you had money to spend. People need to understand. Don't worry about the money you have to spend. No matter what the cap is, you got to spend 89% of that in cash. You have to do it, and you have to spend that over a 4-year period. I mean, so the money has to be spent. Now, how it's spent. You can roll it over, but you can't roll it over forever. I mean, it has to be judiciously, apportioned to what you're doing. So, they had money, they had a player they liked, and then they were able to finally get something, worked out with both parties where they were both happy with it. So, I think it worked out for everybody.
Coach Dave McGinnis joins Robert Walsh, then joins us every Thursday morning at 7:20 here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, thank you as always.
All right, great. Bert, send me that film on the Olsen twins.
I'll do it, Coach.
A deep dive into Mary
guys.
Kate and Ashley's film coming up. There's Coach Mack with us this morning here on the show. Coming up, who makes the better television analyst, Bill Belichick or one recently retired NFL veteran? We'll talk about it next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with Members Nutrition. Maybe you heard me talk about the Youthful Cleanse here lately. A great cleanse, simple cleanse by Daily Defense, but they bring so much more when it comes to supplements, bringing them to you at an affordable cost, quality supplements at a fraction of the normal retail cost, and made right here in the USA. No matter what type of supplement you're looking for, they have it. Let's maybe say immunity supplements, because this is the time of year that we're all feeling a little bit down, and they've got plenty to choose from, including weight loss, detox, like I mentioned, with the cleanse, men's health, women's health, even relaxation supplements. They have it all. And now they are giving you, the listener, a little bit extra off the already discounted prices, offering 50% off your purchase on the already discounted prices. No code needed. The discount is automatically applied at checkout. And the website, you can go to it now to check out all the different types of supplements, all different categories. Just go to membersnutrition.com. That's membersnutrition.com.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll reset the headlines from NFL owners' meetings and specifically a comment from Jim Harbaugh. Is it a lie or is it legit? In their pursuit of one prospect the Titans may be after. We'll do that coming up in just a few minutes. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster with you. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. Who's going to make the better TV analyst, Ramon Foster? Bill Belichick or Jason Kelsey?
Kelsey.
That was quick.
I ain't no thought behind that, Will, at all. Kelsey's thoughtful, fresh out, storyteller out of this world, and not bland. I think even if you get an entertaining Bill Belichick, he's a type of crowd listen. That's the way I look at him, where Kelsey is going to invite you in, talk to you, set you up, and set you right back down, man. I don't know if you get that out of Belichick. Have we ever seen that out of Belichick?
I think we have seen the candid, just real Bill Belichick a couple of times, which apparently he is behind closed doors quite a bit, but he's never been willing to be himself in the media.
The thing with people like him is, because of that hiding of how he is and the protection of his privacy, which I understand. To be good at that job, you got to open yourself up a little bit more and be somebody you're not at certain times too. If you're trying to be entertaining. Now, you can be bland and talk like this and, hey, I wouldn't have done this and this. You're probably going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
But the capture of your attention probably is not going to be as long. The same way some love and complain about Tony Romo, he's outside of himself and not seeing a part that you've never seen before. That's why it's entertaining.
He's authentic.
Yeah, he's authentic.
So ESPN is planning another Monday Night Football pregame shakeup, according to executives. This report on The Athletic yesterday, a year after their complete makeover of Monday Night pregame with Scott Van Pelt. Robert Griffin III's spot is reportedly in jeopardy, while the network is aggressively pursuing Jason Kelsey for Monday Night Football pregame coverage. So ESPN, not the only ones going after Jason Kelsey. NBC, CBS, and Amazon Prime Video all have interest in the recently retired Philadelphia Eagles center. ESPN continues to also pursue Bill Belichick, but Belichick has told networks that he is disinclined to be a part of a regular studio show. ESPN still considering some kind of Omaha Productions and NFL Films get together between Peyton Manning and Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick. I think that's what makes the most sense for Bill, because I think Peyton could open up Bill and get the actual Bill, or you just have Bill with other coaches, and Peyton can do his thing on one channel, Bill does his thing on another channel, and you basically recreate the Manning cast with coaches instead of former quarterbacks.
That's because he probably respects Peyton, right? He respects Peyton. That's why he do something like that. I think Bill Belichick talking to a crowd of people about football that they don't understand to the extremes that he does, I think is where he get bored with it and would not want to do that on a consistent basis. And I'll say this too when it comes to RG3. I think he's better in the internet cyber role than he is on TV. He's much better at giving takes, even if they're terrible ones, or even if you don't agree with them. That is a better lane for him than I think the TV stuff that they have him doing. College pregame is awesome with RG3. I don't love his play calling, his play-by-play on the TV. Not even a little bit. So I can understand why they're trying to fix that segment of Monday Night Football.
I agree with you that he fits better on the internet. He made a great case for defending Caleb Williams against the pink fingernail, pink phone case, dress wearing thing on social media last night. Like they should, and that's a place where he is a more progressive sports broadcaster. So it would make sense that he would do better on the internet defending things like that.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I think RG3 also does the ESPN track coverage of the NCAA championships. I think he's good on that. He was a hurdler at Baylor. People in my world of that sport like him because he brings a lot of energy to a format that maybe doesn't have as much energy in traditional formats. So for a smaller sport that wants eyeballs, wants attention, RG3 makes a ton of sense, right? But I do think on football color analyst roles, he's just doing too much for me.
If he's going to keep making off-color jokes, then he better be good at hurdles because he's putting them right in front of his career.
Yes, he is. And I like the person, and I've heard he's a great dude to be around. I don't know him personally like that. But we don't have to force everybody, as I'm a former player doing sports radio too. You don't have to force everybody on TV because they come with a first-round tag or, hey, you think they're going to be a Hall of Famer. I do think Jason Kelce is legit. Now, watching Travis do it, I'm not sure. Although his storytelling is good, I don't know if I want, when he retires, Travis Kelce doing the exact same thing. But I guarantee he's going to have offers on the table.
Top 3 color analysts in any sport right now. Go.
Top 3, a color analyst?
Or just analysts in general. Doesn't have to be color because we're talking about pregame for Jason Kelce or Bill Belichick.
Barkley, Adam Amin, and...
Adam Amin's not an analyst.
Not an analyst. Barkley. I don't know.
Ryan Clark?
Like that. RC as a color? He don't do color.
No, I don't. That's why I corrected myself.
Oh,
I don't mean
okay.
color. I just mean analysts in general. Pregame or color.
Yeah, I'm be real with you. I love the NBA crew. So Barkley, Shaq, and if I'm talking about somebody else, probably Ryan Clark, yeah.
You could throw Dan Orlovsky in there probably.
You like
for me.
Dan?
I think he has to say things because he's on ESPN now, but when he actually breaks things down, he knows what he's talking about. But
Literally, as you said that, Get Up just tweeted, Dan Orlovsky believes Jaden Daniels is the best QB in the draft this year. As you said that.
try to make excuses for the dude, and
Bring
then
him in.
he just has to have takes now. He has to have takes, so I get it. But
yeah.
make me believe.
I love
Sell
that
me a
NBA
ticket.
crew, though.
I love listening to John Smoltz do baseball.
Is my
Personally.
mom's favorite baseball player of all time.
Up there for me, too. Opening days today.
It is today.
And that was Talking Baseball. 615-737-1045 is our number. Look, it's not opening day for the Braves, so none of you get to talk about baseball today.
Who's got billboards all
kidding.
around this state
Of course
right
they
now?
do. We're in Braves country, baby.
Oh.
Listen, if again, we talk a lot about this show sometimes, getting in the weeds about when you host a radio show in some markets, you don't always get to talk about what you personally would want to talk about. You know I'm all in on 162 games, man. I'll watch 140 of those 162 games.
I've become that guy now.
I love it so much.
I do too. I like watching baseball.
Anyway, 2024 Braves World Series run starts tomorrow. 615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up, Jim Harbaugh told us that he values offensive linemen. Is he trying to throw a smokescreen out there about the number 5 overall pick? We'll dive into it next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Cooling, and Electrical, man. Hey, shout out again to Hiller for coming by my house the other day, man, fixing a leak. They got so much going on. Really good work, man. They always do. And I'm here to tell you, this month is Happy Golden Ticket Sweepstake at Hiller, where you can enter to win at HillerGoldenTicket.com. All you got to do to enter is, put your email in. You automatically enter to win. It's that simple. Prizes will include a $5,000 Hiller gift card. You can also get a $1,000 Hiller gift card or one of the 10 Happy Hiller Club memberships where they come out and service your HVAC. You have other issues around your house that will take care of them. Electrical doesn't really matter. Or you can just simply take advantage of their zero-interest financing for 48 months on select new HVAC systems or 36 months on tankless water heaters and whole home generators. Do not miss out. Enter to win now. Again, at HillerGoldenTicket.com.
What's going on 8 o'clock? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The madness is back with 4 games tonight, starting with Arizona and Clemson at 6:10, UConn, San Diego State at 6:40, UNC, Alabama at 8:40, and bringing up the caboose, Illinois and Iowa State tonight at 9:10. You can listen to those games right here on 104.5 The Zone. Jadeveon Clowney returning home yesterday, signing a deal with the Carolina Panthers, 2 years, $20 million deal worth up to $24 million. Last year, Clowney played in 17 games, tying a career high in sacks with 9.5. Also, only the second time in his career that he has played in every game in the season. The Vols had their pro day yesterday. Joe Milton's cannon was on full display, having to leave the indoor facility so his passes would stop hitting the roof. Milton ran a 4.55 at 245 pounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show, welcome to your Thursday morning, Nashville. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV and on the 104.5 The Zone app. Take us anywhere you go outside of our listening area in beautiful Music City. You got a lot of listening area. Clear sound. Couldn't be my signal.
Couldn't be mine.
Actually, it could be my signal because it is. 615-737-1045. When I go to Knoxville tomorrow, I look forward to having the Zone with me all the way up over the Cumberland Plateau.
Yeah.
That's where you can get us.
It does. It goes far, man. For real, it tripped me out one time. It's like, oh, we're still listening to the radio? Like, yes, you are, Ramon. That was during the high-speed chase I was also involved in, too.
Oh, that's right.
I remember that.
Ramon
I can't believe
Foster,
you got away from that, dude.
Robert
That was
Walsh,
crazy.
Will Bowling, Kayla Anderson with the morning off.
Yeah, I don't know how that dude got away because it was wet outside that day. Either way, though, I got to go holler at Trooper Rick. I got a ride along with him. Yeah, Bert gave me his number, man. Shout out to him.
It's always a bit jarring when your radio changes from 104.5 in Nashville to 104.5 in Knoxville because that's an R&B station. So you'll go from hearing like our voices to hearing rap.
Beyonce.
Yeah. Just a little bit different.
A little bit different.
That's right, though.
Ain't no problem, though. They family.
Coming up in 15 minutes, Mike Morgan, play-by-play broadcaster for ESPN and SEC Network, will join us. One of the play-by-play broadcasters who has shared a booth or a table with Ron Slay on SEC Network. Does a great job. We'll talk a little bit of SEC hoops with him. He also, for Vanderbilt fans, has a unique perspective on Mark Byington because he had the call on ESPN of James Madison's Sun Belt Championship tournament win over Arkansas State, which was Mark Byington and JMU, who is now, of course, the head coach of Vanderbilt. I believe that introductory press conference is also today for Mark Byington at Vandy. So Mike Morgan will have an interesting perspective on Vanderbilt's new coach, seeing as he just called his conference tournament championship the other day.
No doubt.
So that'll be good. 615-737-1045. How you jump in? Let's go to John in the Borough on the phone lines. What's up, John?
What up, John?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing this morning?
How much? Good morning.
Hey, so I just wanted to call in. I called a little while ago about MTSU sports, and y'all are probably already shaking your heads in frustration that I called back. But I wanted to shine a light on MTSU basketball, a little bit of a frustrating light. Since Nick McDevitt got there, the MTSU Blue Raiders are 82-105, 46 and 60 in their conference. They have 0 conference championships, and 4 out of those 6 seasons have been losing seasons. Against their 2 rivals, Western Kentucky and Belmont, they are 4-6 against Western Kentucky and 1-3 against Belmont. I guess my question is, guys, and it goes back to when I called about Derek Mason and the football program, when does an athletic director face repercussions for losing? And when does maybe a university realized that somebody's just stealing money from them on just letting them just consistently lose games. And my other question, do you think there's any truth to the rumors that we can expect John Cena and Stone Cold at WrestleMania this year? Thanks, guys. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the call.
You got the last one?
John Cena, yes. Stone Cold, no. And if he does come out, he probably just stunners somebody. I don't know if you actually get a match.
Okay.
And that's because Stone Cold said so. That is right? I got that right?
Yes, correct.
Nice.
You did
Okay.
get that right. First and foremost, before we go any farther, John, my surprise pick or good team out of Tennessee was MTSU last week. By the way, the women's basketball team beating Louisville in the first round, big time. LSU was just a juggernaut for them. They got some good stuff with that going on. I understand where you're coming from. The frustration, it's always like that. Whenever your team is a little bit lagging, man, or you think somebody, as you just said a second ago, John, is stealing. But there's a lot more context, I guess, to be given about why or how an athletic director is or is not successful. Funds. Where is the actual money going when it comes to either campus renovation? You guys are growing like crazy. I think Murfreesboro as a whole is a city that's growing. And your university, I think, is growing appropriately for what's been asked of it so far. Baseball does well. You got to look and see where the access to getting better is at for your athletic director, if that's the case. It's not all bad, but I understand the sports that you care about aren't as good as you want them to. I think they played, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 Division I, high Division I teams this past year to fundraise. Essentially is what you're getting yourself into. You're in that era.
MTSU did not this year. So their biggest out of conference would have been UAB.
They played Missouri this past year?
In basketball?
Football.
Oh, in football. Well, yeah, I'm talking about just basketball because that's what he asked about.
Yeah,
but football, yes, you have to play.
My bad. I didn't specify which one. But football, you're doing that to build up. That money goes to who will? Everybody.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, MTSU basketball and what Kermit Davis was able to do there was terrific. And I understand it is frustrating. You lose 85-54 to Western Kentucky in the Conference USA tournament. And I mean, that's a team you beat in Murfreesboro this year. But I just think it's so much more difficult to build something in college basketball as a mid-major now in the Conference USA. Because if you coach a guy too well, they're leaving. If you don't coach a guy well enough, they're leaving. There's like a middle ground between we have a good player but not a great player who we want to develop. But if that player knows that he can develop into a superstar, then that player is going to go try to get paid $250,000 to $500,000 at a high major Power 5 college basketball program. It is really, really tough life in mid-major basketball these days, and I don't know what the answer is.
I don't either. Didn't the Vols get a Lady Blue Raider last year also?
Lady Vols got a Belmont point guard.
Belmont. Sorry about that confusion, but this happens. And I guess your competition may be Western Kentucky when it comes down to how you view what they're doing. But they also
it's the rival.
They've ponied up money, it seems like. I remember last year the quarterback was about to leave, and they got him a NIL card deal, if I'm not mistaken. It boils down to money. You guys, I think, are in a growth era at MTSU. How you feel about the AD may be simply what he's up against and how the alumni is funding and intake. I was just talking to somebody the other day. MTSU has probably the widest area, space, as far as college in the mid-state. There's so much growth that can be had down there.
Campus.
Big old campus. And the city is growing, too. I think it's a matter of time before those answers come your way. Great question, though, John, but you never know what they're up against in Murfreesboro.
It is a challenging time to be a mid-major college basketball coach.
And even football, too.
Yeah, 100%.
You are a breeding ground for talent to leave at this point right now.
615-737-1045 is our number. Jim Harbaugh spoke with the media at the NFL owners meetings this week in Orlando, and he made it seem like Joe Alt is going to be the pick at number 5 overall, saying the offensive line to me is important. What position group depends on no other position to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good. Do you think Jim Harbaugh is trying to mislead us into thinking they are taking offensive line at number 5 so they can do something else?
I think he's just making a strong case for the people inside the room that he has to go back and forth with on why they need another offensive lineman. I think that's the biggest point that he's making right now is we can't go unless the big boys up front. Think about the guys that they had in San Francisco for years and how they really dominated with Colin Kaepernick and just the run style that they have and the defense too. He's going to break, I think, that franchise down and build it up into what he wants it to be moving forward. Because the thing about them, before they even moved from San Diego to go to L.A., how relevant have they been? And they got a world-class quarterback right now that nobody is really talking about. Well, I ain't going to say that. Everybody talks about him. But as far as his career has gone, hadn't done much. And I think it boils down to the play of his running game and his offensive line. But the issue that he has is he's lost so many weapons. They lost 2 premier wide receivers. So this talk about the offensive line is potentially saying we're going to take the best available one that we like, whether that's Talifuaga we spoke about or Joe Alt. But I think their plans may be to be picking in the top 5 again next year if they make a move like that.
Food for thought going into break. What's the better scenario for the Titans? A quarterback going before the Chargers pick or someone trading up to the Chargers pick to take a quarterback? Does it matter? Does it matter because 4 quarterbacks would still be going off the board?
I would say somebody trading up to the Chargers pick to take a quarterback because that's your best chance of Joe Alt being available with the number 7 overall pick.
I want to go against you, but that's about right. That's right.
And there is a chance the Giants take him too.
Who, Alt?
Yeah. They could.
They could.
They could take Alt. They could take Neighbors. They could take Adunze.
But the Giants already have a left tackle.
They do.
The Chargers already have a left tackle. You mean to tell me you want to take a only left-sided player and move him to the right?
Move to the right, yep.
That's where it becomes somewhat problematic to me. I think you can. I think in college sometimes you have guys play right tackle because the other spot is already filled by a guy that may be a better athlete or an older guy. But when you're talking about picking a dude like Joe Alt, where he is only a left tackle, and moving him to the right side, I wouldn't personally ask him to do that.
615-737-1045. Back to your phone calls at the end of hour 3. We could take your reaction on Malik Neighbors versus Joe Alt that we have been discussing quite a bit this morning. But coming up next, we'll talk some college hoops with ESPN and SEC Network play-by-play broadcaster Mike Morgan, who joins us next.
If you want an engagement ring that she will be proud to wear, there's only one place to go, and that's Genesis Diamonds. Genesis has cornered the market on all the world-class designers. These New York and Los Angeles-based designers are the best of the best. Every store wants them, but very few stores make the cut. Genesis, though, yes, they made the cut and has all the luxury brands, all the ones women are asking for. So don't settle. Get her the ring of her dreams at Genesis. And don't think you will pay more either. Genesis has complete ready-to-wear designer rings as low as $1,900. And, of course, no jeweler can beat the price of Genesis diamonds. Whether you want a natural diamond or a lab-grown diamond, Genesis has the guaranteed best price and the highest quality. And only Genesis gives you a 120% diamond upgrade guarantee plus free service for life. And all this with no commission salespeople. So there's no pressure to buy ever. Nobody delivers for you like Genesis when it comes to quality, value, selection, warranties, or just customer care. Get the deal you deserve on your diamond at Genesis Diamonds. And now with an expanded selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, all the hard-to-find models. Check them out. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. Robert Walsh is our producer. We are hoping to be joined by ESPN and SEC Network's Mike Morgan coming up in just a few minutes. Can talk a little SEC hoops with him. How are we feeling about Tennessee Creighton so far this week, Ramon Foster?
I feel good about it, man. Considering how they won the last time, last weekend, where you're in a spot where nothing's working for you behind the three-point strike, and you get an opportunity to win because of defense, because of turnovers, because of your style of ball. I think that's one thing, not to throw them into the loop, of course, but I think that's where, with a prestigious program like Kentucky, as far as having just raw talent, that's the separator between building the program and just building up guys when it boils down to how you win games. I think having super seniors, having a method of defense comes first before anything else is why I feel good about this Creighton game, because they're good from the stripe. Everybody said the seven-man rotation that they have doesn't matter because their depth is just as good. They don't foul. And I think that's where the referees allow the Vols and Creighton to both play. I think I like our physical side and our defense better than theirs.
Creighton number one defensively in free throw attempts as a college basketball team by their opponent this year. So they do not give up free throw attempts, and they do not foul, which is incredible. I guess when you're not an SEC team and you don't have games called the way a lot of the games are in this conference, it's easier to do that. It's interesting, Ramon, the psyche of this Tennessee team. If you're a player in that locker room, how much, if at all, are you talking about Tennessee's history in the Sweet 16? How much do you care about the fact that Tennessee's only made one Elite Eight? Are you using that as a motivating factor, or do you not even go there?
I think it's in the back of your head because, I mean, the media, if they're smart, and they are in Knoxville and people that's covering this team, they have to ask them. They have to ask them also about Coach Rick Barnes' record and his trend in these moments right here. I heard yesterday on 3HL when they were talking to Todd Furman and how Rick Barnes has lost more times than not when he's a favorite in these types of moments right here. It's being asked. It's being talked about. Is it a mainstay for the guys? No, because I think you're dealing with a different era, a different mindset with what these guys have done. Say what you want to about this group, and I think that's why senior night was so hurtful to a lot of fans that they lost it, is because they've done and accomplished so much. And I would almost say, too, it's made this Vols fan base spoiled. The expectations of performing, I think, is necessary, but we go to games or watch these games like, yeah, we'll win. Like, that's what that group has provided. So to say that this group is just spotty or this group is lucky to win, you can't throw that into the conversation with these guys. They have had heartbreakers before this year, before Josiah and Vescovi are seniors, super seniors. Without the incorporation of Dalton Connect, I think we've been spoiled. And I think it's because of the work ethic and how blindly they follow Coach Barnes to defense is always going to come first. Ron told that story. Ron, who the heck is Ron? Savage. Ron Slate told the story from this past summer when he went to an open gym, or no, this was a closed practice. He spoke about a young fella on the team that was pouting, upset because he created a turnover and missed a shot. And then the veteran guys on that team elected to get him off the court. Why? Because while you're pouting, they're scoring. And to my understanding, that same individual has contributed this year because he understands defense travels everywhere. I think those are the things when you're talking about a team that has a standard and the nervousness of things that's happened in the past, it doesn't resonate to this group because they're so strong-minded in how they've gotten to this point to be this good. I mean, think about last year, right? We had a situation where the Vols basketball team and I think the football team were number one at the same time or something like that at one particular time, or top five.
Not at the same time, but in the same, I mean, Tennessee basketball hasn't been number one since 2019.
Top five. It was
but
one
Tennessee
of those.
Football was number one in 2022.
But to have a situation in which they are in that conversation, right? And then last year they dropped off. Zakai get hurt. I think the cherishing of these moments right now is why they don't worry about the past things that's happened in Knoxville to the basketball team.
So let's expand this to any athlete in any sport. And as it pertains to free agents looking at the Titans, players in college that in a month will become Tennessee Titans in the draft, how much do you as a player care about history? Is that the same among all athletes? And I always think it's a fascinating conversation. You obviously were a professional athlete for 11 years. You were a college athlete at Tennessee. Does that matter? The guys that came before you, like, I know the tradition and the history of places like Tennessee, and for you, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, you represented two football teams that have rich tradition and rich history. That matters. You feel that going to work every day. You feel that in the facility every day. Mm-hmm. But how much does it really work as a tiebreaker if you are deciding between two destinations? If a player has the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers on their mind as two options as a free agent, how much do you care about the guys that came before you? Because I think it's a relevant conversation that we can look at with Tennessee and the Elite Eight thing and Tennessee going to the Swamp and how they're cursed whenever they play at the Swamp. How much does that matter?
It can, but it also depends on the type of person and the type of mindset the entire team that you're going to go join have, right? You see what I'm saying? Like if let's go Miami, right? Miami's back and forth from how good they want to be. We talk about Miami's in the late 80s and the early 90s or the early 2000s. That's a different era right there, right? When you see guys come back that have played on the field that you have or on the courts that you have that have been great, yeah, you feel some pressure then. I ain't gonna lie. You understand, like when we were in the building and Mean Joe Green walks in, oh, it's different. Okay? It's a different conversation about how he expects you to be in representation of him. Or when Al Wilson comes inside the locker room in Knoxville, it's a different mindset because you understand there's pressure to follow up and keep up what those guys have done. But that me deciding to go somewhere depends upon, in the NFL, management, coach, and also the teammates that I'm going to have to either correct or sustain what they've been doing so far. I don't think you go I ain't going to say that. The money matters on the professional side when it all boils down to how you build a team and where you go. But the level of play is all dependent upon the guys that are going to be around you. If you think, hey, I'm just going to go cash a check, all right, then you do those things. But if it boils down to, hey, we can actually win in a place like this, that is a different conversation. It depends upon the guys that are in the building and can you trust them. Like Baltimore has a squad right now to where Derrick Henry seemed excited.
We're joined right now by SEC Network and ESPN broadcaster Mike Morgan. He is on the radio calling NFL games. He's on television calling SEC athletics. He is everywhere, and he joins us this morning. What's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Always good to be on in the Music City. I got to go there, I think, about a handful of times, a couple of Titans games on Compass Radio,
nice.
And then couple of Vanderbilt basketball and one Vanderbilt football. So that's like my second home here these days.
I love it. And, Mike, we are also affectionately known as just the station where Ron Slay is on as well. I know you certainly know him as a broadcast partner.
That's my guy. You know, Ron and I go back and forth. We try to be the best dressed men in the SEC on the SEC network. Now, he's better looking than I am, but he can appreciate a good suit. I've got a good suit guy. He's got a good suit guy. So we go back and forth on that, even though, again, nobody can match the swag of the great Ron Slay.
I love it. About that. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Mike Morgan with us, NFL on Compass and ESPN SEC Network broadcaster. Mike, we're talking about this Tennessee basketball team. I know you've called a lot of Tennessee hoops games. You've spent a lot of time around Rick Barnes. What do you make of this team and their chances to play for a Final Four this weekend?
Well, look, guys, I mean, I think there is clearly, I would call it cautious optimism. And the only reason I throw the word cautious in there is because of the track record of Tennessee in the Big Dance. We've seen a lot of really good teams that had great success in the SEC's regular season and even conference tournament, and then they fall a little short of the mark in the conference tournament. I mean, if we're being brutally honest, that is certainly attached to Rick Barnes's resume, even though I think he's a Hall of Fame coach and one of the best coaches out there. I'm a big Rick Barnes guy. But he needs to have a deep run with a team like this because the difference, and this goes to the second part of my two-word phrase there, the optimism, why am I more optimistic this year than in most? Because a lot of these great Tennessee teams simply struggle to score. And with Dalton Connect, that's the difference maker. And he's not the only one. I mean, Ziegler can go off on any given night. You know, they have other guys that can put the ball in the basket, but Connect is just one of those guys. You can ride him. And if you look back over the years, there's a lot of NCAA Final Four teams that had that one guy that they know when it's close, and a lot of these games are going to be close because we're out of Cinderellas. There really are no NC State is an 11 seed, not a Cinderella. We don't have any Cinderella. So a lot of these games over the next 4 days are going to be very close. And Tennessee's likely going to have a couple of those. You hope a couple of them. Dalton Connect is the guy where Rick Barnes can finally say, okay, you give it to him here down the stretch and you let him make a play. They haven't had that. Even with a lot of those really good defensive teams, they have struggled to get baskets and they've lost games ugly. I think now they can win games ugly, but they can also win games that are more in, say, the 70s with a Dalton Connect and him giving you 20, 25, even 30 on any given night. So I still feel really good about this team. It's going to be a tough matchup, no doubt, but I like this team's chances for sure.
Does defense really have to travel when it comes down to tournament play? Because you got two teams that can shoot and score and got players that can do both. What's more important, the scoring aspect of it or the defense for teams like these, as far as Tennessee and Creighton?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It's $1 million question. I'll one of the guys I work with on SEC Network is a guy named Mark Wise, and he's a longtime former coach, and he always says it best. You know, we'll get done talking to coaches like a Rick Barnes, and we'll go to the shootout, and he always ends with 2 words: make shots. And his point is, you can play great defense, and you can win the battle of the boards, but if you're not hitting any shots, and they are, you're probably going to lose. So, you know, the obvious answer is you want the best of all worlds, right? Well, we know Tennessee with Rick Barnes and the athletes he recruits, they are going to defend. They are capable of playing lockdown defense. They usually don't lose a whole lot on the glass either. But at times, again, offensively, they have struggled. So I feel like defensively, yeah, you want to be able to defend. Yes, the games in this tournament are different than regular season games. The scores are typically lower. The defense is ratcheted up a notch. But I think all those things play into what Tennessee does very well. Creighton is an extremely dangerous team, well-coached team under Doug McDermott. They should have been in the Final Four last year. They were within an eyelash of defeating San Diego State to go to the Final Four, and a lot of those kids are back this year. So even with being a great defensive team, you might find yourself in a shootout on Friday. You just might. It might be a game in the 80s. So that's where, again, you don't have to just rely on great defense like years past. This Tennessee team can score with the best of them.
Tennessee and Alabama, the only SEC teams that are left. A lot of people had Kentucky in their Final Four Elite Eight. Kyle just had a big meeting a couple days ago. What was potentially said, or what changes do you expect to come out of Lexington as it pertains to Kentucky men's basketball and Coach Calipari?
Man, oh man, I tell you what. So I go back along. I've been covering this league for over 20 years, which makes me sound older than I am. But I started when I was, about 21, 22 years old. And I've got an immense respect for Cal. But I've also been around Kentucky basketball long enough and married a Kentucky fan to know that it's just different over there. Just making the tournament is not enough. They expect Final Fours. They want banners. They haven't had a banner since 2012. They haven't had a Final Four since 2015. And there's been a long kind of scuttlebutt around Lexington and beyond that the AD and Cal weren't exactly seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And then this past loss, first-round loss in 3 years, I think a lot of the fans finally said, we just, it's not working. It's broken. And we don't want to hear about, the problems are one and dones. You construct the roster as a college coach. That's on you if that's the way you decide to go. I would also point out 2 of their best players all year long, Reeves and Mitchell, are about 23, 24 years old. So you can't just blame it on the fact that they were young. They've had veteran players. He's gone to the portal in the last few years. Watching some of that press conference yesterday which was definitely unique. You've got all these rumors that there's a $33 million buyout and Cal might be asked to go. You have all these rumors about the strained relationship, whether that's factual or not, between athletic director and coach. And there they are at a podium like, hey, everything's fine, kumbaya. He's my coach next year, and all is good in the world. So he's going to be back. I don't think there's any question. I think some of those reports from people who claim to know Kentucky, a little bit premature. He's going to be back, but there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's going to be immense pressure on Coach Cal and Kentucky to start winning more games in March. It's not just the fact that they lost the first round for the second time in 3 years. I mean, you lose the first game of the SEC tournament again. You know how many fans save up their hard-earned money to go to that SEC tournament in Nashville, and they expect to spend 3-4 days there, not one and done. So I think it's come to a head a little bit, and I think next year is going to be hyper-focused on not November, December, January, February, but what does that team do in the month of March?
Mike Morgan, ESPN SEC Network play-by-play broadcaster, also NFL on Compass, with us this morning here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Mike, on the way out, I know you got the chance to call the Sun Belt Tournament Championship, JMU and Arkansas State, and Mark Byington will have his introductory press conference as the head coach at Vanderbilt today. What is Vanderbilt getting in their new head coach?
Had a really good discussion with him. You know, we met with him right after they won the semifinal. And less than 24 hours before they were going to play their championship game on our airwaves on ESPN. And it was the first kind of extended discussion I've had with Coach Byington. I knew him a little bit when he was an assistant at College of Charleston, and a lot of people thought he was going to get that job. He was going to succeed Bobby Cremins. He did not. So what did he do? He did what most coaches have to do. You got to be a grinder. You've got to bounce around a little bit. You've got to work other jobs at various places and just continue that grind, whether it's as an assistant at College of Charleston, whether it's director of ops at Virginia, whether it's an assistant coach at Virginia Tech, Georgia Southern, et cetera. You grind, and it's a guy like that. I'm just happy to see him get his chance. He was a great player in college, by the way, 1,000-point scorer at UNC Wilmington. And what he did with JMU, getting that roster together, not only getting to the tournament, but winning a game, I think this is a logical hire for Vanderbilt. We all know Vanderbilt is a unique place, and it is a unique job. Jerry Stackhouse was a unique hire. It did not work out. This, to me, is what I would call kind of a practical hire, a guy that, again, has been successful at multiple levels and at multiple places, and is one of those hot mid-major coaches right now that I think will fit in well with a program that obviously stresses academics, doesn't necessarily have the same transfer portal rules, if you will, and guardrails that some other schools do. But I think Coach Byington will do a terrific job at Vanderbilt. I think people are ready for Vanderbilt to be back in the NCAA tournament. I think people are ready for Vanderbilt to be a consistently good program in the SEC like we all know they're capable of doing. So to me, to get Mark Byington at the time you got him, I think it's a great hire by Vanderbilt.
All right, Mike, one more real quick. From a play-by-play perspective, anyone who listens to this show knows that I am way too much of a play-by-play nerd in some of the things I get to do. What is your favorite building that you were able to broadcast in this year?
Are we talking NFL? Are we talking basketball?
Anything.
What sport?
Anything. Anything unique that you thought was particularly awesome this season?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I've done every SEC venue in the major three sports 100 times over. I never get tired of doing Rupp Arena. Rupp Arena, for all the reasons we talked about with Kentucky, is just a magical place. In the NFL, there's so many good venues with so many good fan bases. Going out to SoFi Stadium, that's just an immaculate building. I wouldn't say it's the most intimidating place in the world. Doing a game at Baltimore this year and seeing some of the Ravens fans for a big matchup with the Browns. I would say in college basketball, I've done Allen Fieldhouse, I've done Rupp Arena, and I don't think it gets better than either one of those. I just don't. In college football, doing games at LSU at night, I've had the opportunity to do that. That it doesn't get much better than that, I would say. And in the NFL, it's really hard for me to pinpoint one. And so much of it, as you guys know, depends on how good the team is.
Right.
But Lambeau Field, obviously, special place. I would put that right up there. in the top three venues. Cleveland, with their fan base, it's always cold and miserable whenever I'm there, but I still love doing games there. So those would be some of the few that the kind of top of the mind awareness where they would fall right off the top of the bat.
Love it. Mike Morgan has been our guest at Morgan On Air, where you can follow him on Twitter. Great insight, SEC hoops, NFL, everything that he covers, doing a great job. Mike, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Appreciate what you do, and give old Ron Slay my best. He's crushing it over at the network. We're so happy to have him, and he's doing outstanding work not only for you guys but for us as well.
Love it.
Love it.
We will absolutely
Thank you,
pass that
Mike.
along. Thanks, Mike.
See you guys.
All right, there's Mike Morgan with us here this morning on the show. You are about to just come out of your chair with all this love for AFC North teams and not Pittsburgh.
Cleveland?
We'll dive into headlines we've not yet gotten to next and talk a little Sweet 16 on the other side.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of time we homeowners pretend we do not see the warning signs. We're afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed right away, or maybe a small problem now that'll become bigger later, or it may be nothing at all. When USS comes out to your house, you're going to get problem solvers who provide a peace of mind to their customers, the homeowner. You're not going to get someone who's worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling the next big thing, but someone there to educate you and help you understanding what is happening with your home. At USS, the only measure of success is how satisfied the homeowner is and not a closing ratio. And that's because when it rains in Middle Tennessee, grounds get saturated. Those basement walls bow. I'm talking about you never know where that leak is going to come. And I'm here to tell you that homeowners trust USS when it comes to those types of issues. They've been keeping homes dry and stable for over 25 years. If you have foundation issues or just flooding in your house, your home, they serve Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Western Kentucky. You can reach them online at USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, brewed by 8th and Roast. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Robert Walsh making the show happen. Headlines coming up in 10 minutes. Mike Wilson of Knox News to join us in a half hour at 9:20 this morning. Good conversation with Mike Morgan and with Coach Dave McGinnis today. If you missed that, we always remind you. Subscribe to Ramon, Kayla, and Will wherever you download podcasts. Apple, Spotify, 1045thezone.com. If you are traveling or driving this weekend, it makes for good listening, catching up on what you missed this week.
Will not regret it, okay? Please.
Absolutely not.
And thank you.
We've got Sweet 16 basketball coming up tonight. Some interesting matchups. We mentioned UNC and Alabama. 4.5 points in favor of North Carolina in this game. I have no read on how that game is going to go because I don't know which Alabama team is going to show up.
And that's the issue you're going to run into. You see them get smoked by teams they shouldn't, and then other times you see them run it up and their shots is falling and up and down the court the way you want them to. It, to me, is going to come down, I think, to their post play when it comes to Baycott and what he's capable of doing over the course of that game. If he can physically take it over and just somewhat dominate them down the middle, and I think that's where down the paint. And I think that's where you force Alabama to slow it down. And North Carolina simply does their thing because they're the blue blood types, and this is the type of ball that they have been playing for a while. Baycott is the guy that I think determines a lot of this.
Of course, NC State's DJ Burns, the lowest seed remaining NC State, continuing as well this weekend. Did you see DJ Burns was on the Dan Patrick Show this week?
I missed it.
So DJ Burns, the big man, and when I say big man, I mean big man.
He's a D tackle.
For NC State, has been doing a media car wash. This was one of the more awkward interactions I have ever heard on an interview. Listen to this.
Say that again. You were 6'8" as an 8th grader?
Yes, sir. I came back 6'8", and I've only grown 2 inches since then.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. And then when did you put on the weight? When did that happen?
Sir?
When did you when did you become like fill out? When did that happen?
I'll probably say right after my freshman year of college, really.
When would you say you got fat as hell, DJ?
Sorry, that was Rich Eisen, of course, not Dan Patrick. I apologize, but literally, what? When did you get fat? Just come out and say it, Rich.
When did you? Didn't he try to clean it up? If he didn't try to clean it up, it'd have been a little bit better. When did you fill out?
You're really filling out there, DJ.
I'm so shocked.
DJ, you're a growing boy. When did that happen?
One of my favorite interviews he did was talking about the relationships through business he made when he was at NC State. The guy's a vending machine man. Shaped like a vending machine and owns vending machines.
He owns vending machines.
So do they call him the fridge then?
That would make sense.
I feel like
I tried.
The refrigerator Perry would be upset about that.
Yeah. I tried. But that's also one of those moments where you say a joke in your head as far as Rich Eisen goes, and it's not as funny as you thought it was going to be.
Happens more than you know, Ramon.
It does. It just happened to me a second ago.
Not a good place to be.
It was. It's not a great place to be.
When Ramon makes bad jokes like that, I think we should treat him like a puppy and make him sit in it. You know what I mean? Like, just nobody say anything.
Not
just
a
silence.
single word.
That should happen more often in general in workplaces. Okay, hey, that was dumb. And just be quiet. That's what you need.
2024, stop being nice to your coworkers. Stop laughing at their jokes.
Yeah, Bert and stuff. I'm here for that.
NC State Marquette 6:09 on Friday, the first game of the Friday Sweet 16 matchups.
How long they gonna let DJ Burns bully people though?
I mean, he's been doing it all year.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
Rich Eisen bullied him by saying, "When'd you put on the weight?"
You know,
it's crazy.
You know when
he goes, "Sir."
When your mama stopped cooking for me, that's what he should have said. When your wife stopped ordering Uber Eats for me, he should. In those, I bet you DJ Burns right now is like, boy, I should have. You know he is like, God, I should have.
One of those where you leave the argument, you leave the conversation, and you come up with all the really witty comebacks after the conversation's over. 615-737-1045. Hour 4 of RKW is next.
When did that happen?
Sir?
When did you like when?
What's up? It's Will Bowling. Are you thinking about replacing your air conditioning unit? Tell you what, better time to ask that question now when the weather is still in the 50s and 60s. You know, in Middle Tennessee, it's going to be April or May, and we're going to be in the 90s before you know it. If the answer is yes and you're thinking about it, call the expert team at Lee Company today and ask them about their current special financing offers. Your heating and air conditioning system not only keeps your home comfortable year-round, it can also help enhance the quality of air around you and for your loved ones. Don't wait until your old system breaks. Have Lee Company take a look today. Right now, you can get $1,250 off the price of a new air conditioning unit. That's right, $1,250 off. So give them a call, 615-567-1000, or visit them online at leecompany.com. leecompany.com/promotions. They got a lot of great deals for you. Remember that phone number, 615-567-1000. That's Lee Company, all you need.
I came back to let you know. All right, sorry, that song stuck in my head. 901, what's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Madness back tonight, creeping through your veins. We got 4 games, starting with Arizona and Clemson at 6:10, UConn, San Diego State at 6:40, UNC, Alabama 8:40, and bringing up the caboose, 9:10, Illinois, Iowa State. That's Will's favorite game of the night. Jadeveon Clowney returning home, signing a 2-year, $20 million deal worth up to $24 with the Carolina Panthers. Last year, Clowney played in 17 games, also tying his career high in sacks with 9.5. And the Vols had their pro day yesterday. Joe Milton's cannon was on full display, having to leave the indoor facility so his passes would stop hitting the roof. Milton ran a 4.55 at 245 pounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, 9 a.m. in Nashville, rocking and rolling along on RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast with Ramon Foster and Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. In 15 minutes, we'll be joined by Knox News' Mike Wilson. Talk a little bit of Tennessee hoops. Our Westwood One coverage of the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 is brought to you by Old South Properties and Farm Bureau Health Plans all weekend long. Right here in the Zone, your exclusive home for NCAA tournament coverage. And, of course, your exclusive home late Saturday night for Tennessee and Creighton, courtesy of the Vol Network.
Looking forward to it. Going to take me a nap. No, I'm not. I'm not a nap person, but I'll be up and ready for that game, man.
So I have got Tennessee versus Georgia on the SEC Network Plus in baseball on Friday.
Love that.
So tomorrow I'll be driving to Knoxville to call that game, and I'm excited because I can go to my favorite sports bar in Knoxville to watch the Tennessee game after the Tennessee-Georgia baseball game that I'm broadcasting ends.
Got a doubleheader going on there, Will. That's what you call the universing, okay? There's no explanation for it. It's your time to receive some goodness.
That's going to be a fun baseball game, too. Tennessee and Georgia are 1 and 2 in college baseball in home runs hit this season. And Blake Burke, Tennessee first baseman, is 1 home run away from tying the career home run record set by Luke Lipsius of 40 home runs a couple years ago.
He just broke it. That's what I was going to say.
And Christian Moore has 38. So,
what a group.
I'm excited. Jesse on YouTube in the FNN Big Chat says, what is your favorite bar? Is Cool Beans still around? Oh, Cool Beans is very much still around. Very much still around. And Spencer says on Facebook, Friday, not Saturday for the Tennessee game. Yes, I misspoke, of course.
Yeah, no.
Today feels like a Friday is why I keep saying that.
Oh, well, tomorrow's Good Friday. So, hey,
that's true.
There's that, too.
Favorite bar, though, where I will be watching Tennessee and Creighton will likely be Fieldhouse Social in Knoxville. That is my favorite place.
Over by where the Publix used to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Publix is still there.
It's still there?
Yeah, it's the Walmart.
It's the Walmart.
Got vacated, and nothing has replaced that. It's kind of sad, actually.
Man, you spoiled brats. Y'all got friggin' grocery stores on campus, had a Walmart, couldn't keep it open. What's wrong with y'all, man?
I think it's because you have idiot 18-year-olds who are seeing how much they can steal from said Walmart is what happened.
What? No.
100%. Are you kidding me?
They don't steal in colleges, man. Never has that been reported. I stole a lot myself.
Did you?
No.
I love how Ramon is his most ratchet self at 9 or at 6 when he knows his kids aren't in the car.
Stop. Don't
tell me I'm wrong. Keisha might still be in the car right now, but RJ and Miles are not hearing you talking about the line between ratchetness and righteousness. At either 6 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Dang, that's the title of your podcast. Ratchetness to righteousness.
From ratchetness to righteousness, this is Ramon Foster.
It's not my fault. I felt like the canned Gatorades belonged to me since I serviced the University of Tennessee.
Those things were serious, though. I'll tell you what, in college.
Best flavor, real quick.
In a can, red.
Really?
The fruit punch Gatorade out of the can.
I don't think I've ever had a canned Gatorade before.
You haven't had a canned Gatorade?
Do I look like an athlete? You have to say
Fair
3
enough.
syllables if you're going to put me in that category.
Okay.
Y'all were athletes. I was an athlete. That is amazing.
You're an intramural athlete.
You are.
There you go. We came in second place in flag football.
Did you?
We would have won if I was good.
You're a flat defender.
There you go. That's why we lost, because I was in the flat.
Ron Slay in the F&M Bank chat, lemon, lime, or orange out of the can. Also great picks.
Orange, easy.
Out of the bottle, it's the Glacier Freeze, the
Easy,
light blue.
I like the light purple, though.
Not even close. You do?
The light purple is top tier.
See, I'm going to throw
Out
a
of
wrench
the
in the
bottle
whole thing. If I get to pick my flavor, I'm picking the cucumber. I love the cucumber Gatorade.
Hello?
I'm sorry. I a man of class, a man of dignity back here. I can't help it.
Of course. Man of class.
Been hanging out with Buck too much. Love that cucumber
Cucumber water.
Wow.
The most elite one, in my opinion, is the orange.
Orange is really
Orange,
good.
then red.
Orange is really good.
Lemon lime, I wasn't huge into the lemon lime, but don't make me go find cans and us do a taste test.
Canned Gatorade is so good. That is what we had freshman year at Tennessee. If you went into the training room, you could take as many cans of Gatorade as you want at Tennessee, and you could, like my roommate, Brad, in freshman year of college, shout out Bristol, Virginia native, would put like 4 or 5. We would just load up the backpack of just shove them in there. Get a couple oranges, a couple reds. Come on. And then they discontinued the cans our sophomore year, so we kept one, and we never opened it. And it was the ceremonial final Gatorade can that we passed around. Tim in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube said, Will was an athlete with 4 question marks. Hey, Tim, don't act so surprised there, bud. Come on. Take the surprise out of your voice.
They always come for you on your athletics.
Duck on YouTube responds and says, he ran the 800. I did not run the 800. I sucked at the 800. Did you? I was very bad at the 800.
Is that a full sprint, too?
An 800 is a mile is a sprint. 100%. A mile to me is about 90%, 85% effort.
Yeah.
Okay. I was 5K, 10K in cross country. To answer your question.
Okay, for sure. 5K, 10K in cross country?
5K, 10K in track, and then cross country, it's an 8K or a 10K.
That's what's crazy. You separate cross country from track.
It's a different sport.
I'm a non-runner, they're the same thing.
I was technically a 3-sport athlete.
I was at your school yesterday.
I went to bragging camp, too.
Your high school alumni, and there was a track event there yesterday.
It usually is.
And I had PTSD on how much I hated it. I hated every minute that I was a part of a track team.
Daniel in Bowling Green, 615-737-1045. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, just chiming in on the Gatorade talk.
Yep.
Big Moan's Light Purple Riptide Rush, top contender, but all-time favorite, can't find it anymore, Citrus Cooler.
Ooh. Citrus, what color was that?
Was that the mango color? Like the light orange, if I'm not mistaken?
I guess so.
That is
Citrus Cooler. Interesting. Yeah. My favorite still, and this is also discontinued, was the Powerade Sour Melon. Green Powerade was the best flavor. Sour watermelon.
Citrus Cooler was like a yellow, orangish hue.
There you go.
Hey, he ain't wrong at all.
Philip in Knoxville next. What's up, Philip?
The flavor, if you post or pre-workout, however you want to do it, it doesn't matter if it's Great Gatorade or the Power Zero, whichever one you want to use, and get the chocolate protein mix and put that in your Gatorade, your Great Cut flavored Gatorade, and it tastes just like a Tootsie Roll. You'll freak out when you taste it. I mean, literally like a Tootsie Roll pop.
I'll raise you one real quick. Get you an orange one and get vanilla protein and put it in there.
Uh-huh.
Hey, a creamsicle. I'm telling you.
I'll have to try that, brother.
Elite level here. I'm telling you on that one.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you,
the call.
Philip.
It's not bad. It's a good idea.
I ain't realized the Tootsie Roll one though.
At Ramon Kayla Will, where you can vote on our question of the morning for Titans fans today, picking between options with the number 7 overall pick if Joe Alt is unavailable and if he does get picked by the Los Angeles Chargers. 57% of you would go with Malik Neighbors. 24% of you would go Olu Fashanu. 11% Dallas Turner. I feel like that's just Ramon voting about 20 times himself. And Roma Dunze rounds out the field at 9%. I'm surprised people aren't as high on Roma Dunze. I think the Malik Neighbors Pro Day has turned a lot of heads after he had a 42-inch vertical yesterday.
He also bowed out of his pro day. Roma Dunze did. So he did not run. He stuck with his combine effort. So Malik Neighbors like corduroy pillows. He's making all the headlines.
Smells fishy to me.
Why was that good? Like corduroy pillows making headlines.
There you go. Break it down for him.
Making headlines like corduroy pillows.
Pillows. Who did you steal
I'm
that
smooth
from?
with it.
Get the heck out of here.
My favorite today is still Coach Mack saying, "You're so dumb you couldn't play dead in the Western."
God, if he wasn't on, I feel like Josh Allen. If Patrick Mahomes wasn't here, if Coach Mack wasn't on, I'd be the funniest dude. But I can't compete with that.
You're so dumb you couldn't play dead in the Western.
Western. Just lay there. Can you imagine somebody that won't stop moving? Just lay down. Hurt.
Oh, it's like The Office when Joe is talking to Michael about his hiring his nephew. Like, I want you on him like tidy whities. Want his butt like tidy whities. And he said, I'm going to be on him like moss on a Mississippi tree stump. She goes, now, why'd you have to go make your own? Mine wasn't good enough. I'm going to be on him like moss on a Mississippi tree stump. Oh, goodness. Somebody save us. Mike Wilson of the Knox News Sentinel will put us back onto the rails this morning. Talk a little bit of Tennessee Creighton basketball next. Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose, Tremont Foster, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. And joining us this morning on the phones, one of our finest. He is Mike Wilson of Knox News, talking a little bit of Tennessee basketball today. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, but I feel like Kayla's been gone like every time I've come on lately, so I'm starting to think there's like a personal vendetta here that I don't know about.
There might be.
It might be. I'm going to lean in and say, just don't like you. Don't like your voice. Don't like your height.
Yeah.
Don't like the shoes that you wear. Don't like the teams that
Just
you cover.
unfamiliar with my game then.
See, I knew I can get that type of reaction out of you, Mike. Welcome back, man.
It's good to be back. You know, it's March. We got to be on our best game, right?
We absolutely do. Mike, what do you like about the Creighton matchup for Tennessee, and what do you not like about it this weekend?
I like that Tennessee has a depth advantage. I like that I think Tennessee's defense can cause problems for Creighton. They are a very efficient offense, 3 very high-scoring guys. But I think Tennessee's got potential there. And I also like that Tennessee probably isn't going to go 3 of 25 from 3 again. The sheer rules of mathematics say that Tennessee is probably going to have a correction there at some point to the average. And that just gives you the belief that Tennessee will score better than it did in that game last weekend.
It's interesting when you look at this team. Ryan Kalkbrenner, the Big East Defensive Player of the Year. How does Tennessee neutralize him? Is it Jonas Adu simply making shots down low, or how much of this will rely just on Tennessee's guards making the mid-range jump shots that Creighton wants them to take?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be part of it, is knocking down those shots. I mean, I think obviously we've seen what Dalton Knecht can do kind of off the ball screen, getting into mid-range, making those shots is going to be essential. Josiah Jordan-James is good at that elbow with a little turnaround. So those are big. But this does, definitely strike me as a game where it comes down to Jonas Adu, Tobe Awaka. And so many times this year, those are the games Tennessee has lost. You can kind of look at the pattern of losses, and typically the other team has an elite. That's kind of the thread. So this does strike me as one that those two have to be at their absolute best. Kalkbrenner on both ends, because he also averages like 17.5 a game.
And that's why I wanted to go with you also. How effective can Tobe Awaka be if they don't call fouls super tight? He is a foul problem when he's on the court, but having him come off the bench and battle a little bit and somewhat break down Creighton is what I hope anyway.
You know, going into the year, if I had a concern with this Tennessee team's potential, it was that they have 2 post players they rely on, and both of them are foul prone. Jonas Adu has toned that down a bit. Tobe Awaka has his moments still. The Texas game obviously was 4 fouls. He only played 11 minutes, had 10 points, 5 rebounds. So if he'd been able to play 18 minutes, I mean, goodness gracious, that's probably a different game. But I also found the reaction to those fouls interesting. Kai Ziegler called them tone-setting fouls. He basically said Texas stopped going to the glass after Tobe started kicking butt. Greg Polinsky kind of said the same thing, where he's like, they weren't bad fouls, and some of them were, close, those over-the-back calls. But this is a game where you can't get into foul trouble if your Tennessee's too big. They need to have those guys on the court. This just isn't a game where you want to lean on a freshman big.
And that's why I wanted to also bring up is, how do you feel about if they have to go to the bench? Estrella, De Leon, and other guys that have to play supporting roles for this team. And also Gainey. Gainey went 0 for 6 from the three-point line this past game. If they do have to go to the bench this time around, will we see an adjustment in production out of that group?
I mean, JP is interesting because he played really well against Syracuse back in Maui. He played pretty darn well against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. Might have been the only big that played worth a lick in that game for Tennessee. So he's had these moments. Florida was the same deal. Florida obviously had some good bigs. If they have to turn to him, they need him to be that version of himself and not the version that got dominated for like a minute against Texas last week. As for Gainey, that's just, again, you go back to law of averages. He's probably not going to go 0 of 6 again to go 0 for 6. I mean, it's another one of those moments. Keep taking the shots. They're going to go in at some point. Because I did think Tennessee had against Texas, they just missed some of those shots.
Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel, our guest at By Mike Wilson, where you can follow his work covering Tennessee basketball and Tennessee athletics on Twitter. Mike, Dalton Knecht, obviously a key part of Tennessee's story every time they take the court. Does Creighton have the athletes to guard him and defend him the way Texas did and have success? Do you feel like this is a better matchup for him specifically?
I do. I thought what Texas did defensively on Dalton was really, really good. Weaver did a great job the way they threw him at Dalton. Really limited him. I think he had 4 first-half points, with 2 of them being at the free throw line. So what Texas did was outstanding. I don't know that Creighton's got that same option. They are pretty highly rated in defensive efficiency. I think they're in the top 30-ish range. But in terms of, again, the depth, they only have a few guys they throw. They're not necessarily as predicated on one-on-one guys there, but what they do, again, they're going to challenge you to get in the mid-range there a little bit more, try to take away some threes, and they defend the rim pretty well.
Mike, you're around this team a lot. You obviously get a firsthand perspective on their mentality, on their confidence going into matchups like this. And obviously it's well documented that Tennessee's only ever won 1 game in the Sweet 16. Do you think this team cares? Are they talking about that regularly, or is this simply just, hey, we're focused on ourselves and creating our own legacy?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I mean, I'm sure people have an awareness of the program's track record in these moments. I'm sure, too, players have an awareness of what people say about Rick Barnes in these moments. I think you'd be hard-pressed not to, just because the internet exists in this time and place. But I think they are, at least we'll have more of an opportunity to talk to them then, but and all year from these guys is just that they're kind of locked in what they need to try to do.
Is there much more that Rick Barnes can tell this group as they hit the court on Friday night with how to play this game, or should it be expected from the players that they lead this game and Coach Barnes don't have to say a thing because they've been through almost every situation except for the Final Four national championship game?
I mean, I think it's a balance of both. You look back to that Texas game, and I know the coaches very much preached the whole rock fight. It's going to look a lot like what it did the past couple of years sort of thing. So I'm sure there will be some of that, but I mean, once you get in that game, you got to shake out where the players are kind of controlling things. And I've always been in that mindset that for the most part, players are going to dictate the outcome. Coaches need to call the right timeouts, make good substitutions, and all those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, the players need to pull it off and make things happen.
What breaks this team? I know Creighton is really good from the three-point line. What absolutely breaks them to where they wouldn't be able to make a run and win this game?
You mean for Creighton? What would break Creighton?
No, what would break the Vols?
I mean, an early barrage of three-pointers would be problematic. I think that's one thing with Creighton is they shoot 36.5% from three, and they shoot a lot of threes. If they get rolling there, I don't think Tennessee wants to get in a game where they're having to come from behind because that's going to take them out of their offense and what they want to do. You'll hear Rick Barnes and players talk a lot about the first 4 minutes of the game, and this team has had some moments where they've been really slow starters. I mean, you can look at Mississippi State as one of those and get behind the 8 ball really early. Got to avoid that because the reality is when you get to this point in the season, every team you play is really stinking good and really capable of kicking your butt if you're not on it. So you got to come out with that intensity from the start.
Mike, what do you make of the SEC's disappointing first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, and how surprised were you that SEC teams were so bad?
Yeah, I was surprised at Florida. Florida was a team I thought had a chance to make some noise. I had them beating Marquette in the second round. I thought Florida's been so good lately. Colorado has a top 5 pick. That plays into that. Also, obviously, surprised by Auburn, team that made a lot of noise in the SEC tournament and then talked a lot of noise about making more noise and didn't. South Carolina, not surprised by. I thought they were over their skis all season, overachieving, which is an incredible thing. The record they had is phenomenal, but I didn't think they were ever as serious as some of the other top SEC teams. And Oregon's defense also presents so many problems that wasn't shocking. Maybe dropping 40 points for Jermaine Quiznard was shocking, but Kentucky was obviously a disappointment. All of this to say, surprising, maybe not as the individual teams in the matchups were, but as the overall results for the teams and only having a couple left playing is disappointing. But Kentucky and Alabama, man, they were boom or bust to begin with, and Alabama went boom and Kentucky went bust. So those teams were always, explosive in both directions. But yeah, for the conference, they needed to do better than this to kind of back up some of the claims this year.
Mike, Gonzaga and Purdue also in Detroit this weekend. I apologize. You're going to have to see about 60 whistles in that Gonzaga-Purdue game, probably all of them against guys half of Zach Edey's size being called for fouls for breathing the same oxygen as him. How badly do you think Tennessee wants another crack at Zach Edey or matches up well with Purdue? Or is it just obvious that you'd rather see Gonzaga in the Elite Eight?
Well, I will say I think it was a little bit rude of the NCAA to put the Purdue game first, because now Tennessee's game starts like 10:15.
Literally.
But that's if Zach Edey doesn't shoot 700 free throws. So I'm now thinking this is going to be like an 11 p.m. tip-off because Purdue exists.
Right.
So that felt a little bit rude to me as a sports writer who's now going to have to ingest an unhealthy amount of caffeine. That said, Tennessee's familiar with both teams. They know Mark Few. They know Gonzaga. Rick Barnes and Mark Few have a long relationship. So you're going to know either team you see if you advance to the Elite Eight. You're going to have seen Purdue this year, which there is a big value in that, and I think there is a big value in being familiar with what Zach Edey brings. Does that mean you can stop him? No, but it means you're familiar. And so I think there is a value in, if you get to that round, kind of the personnel and the identity of the team you would see already, especially when you're talking about that quick turnaround scout. It's going to help to have that in your favor already.
I feel like since the Kentucky game, Mike, where Dalton's getting double teamed, it's happened at other times too, but specifically to Kentucky, and then leading into the SEC tournament, Dalton Connect's ability to get open, or the team facilitate him getting open, as he once did, I think, towards midway through the season, isn't as strong as it once was. What does the team have to do, or Dalton do, to make that a priority as far as his scoring ability to help them win the game?
Other guys need to make shots. That opens that up. If Santiago Vescovi and Jordan Gainey and Josiah Jordan-James and Zakai Ziegler are hitting three-pointers, teams can't do the same things to Dalton because there's something going to have to respect these other guys on a different level. And reality is the two consistent shooters for Tennessee this year have been Dalton and Zakai. Now, if one of those other guys suddenly goes really nice to start a game, a team has to respect them more. And in turn, that's going to open up Dalton more, which if you go back to the Kentucky game, that's why Rick Barnes, after the game, was telling Dalton to pass the ball more. He scored 40 points in that game, and Rick Barnes' message was pass the ball more. And the reason being, your life's going to be so much easier scoring if you're passing the ball and your teammates are scoring. Because, again, that's going to open up a defense and change the way it plays. So I think it's as much about everyone else as it is about Dalton.
And everyone else is I have to bring this guy up again, Jordan Gainey. Does he realize he's a villain? Like with some of the stuff that he does, I like it because he plays for the team that I root for. But does he understand his role and how that looks on TV, or the look that he had this past week?
He's got a little attitude out there, and it's kind of nice. He's such a quiet person that you don't necessarily expect it. But he ruffles his feathers out there, I think. And if you want to talk playing style too, I think what maybe one of the most impressive pieces of growth for any Vol this year has been is the way that Jordan Gainey plays defense now. He came in, obviously, the guy known for his scoring and his offense. I was impressed early over in Italy by his quickness, and he's parlayed that quickness into being a really effective defender. And he's frustrating teams in that way, too, and become a guy that isn't just a put-in-there-for offense guy, but a guy that can get it done for you on both ends.
At by Mike Wilson, where you follow his work on Twitter. Mike Wilson of Knox News with us. Mike, I'm upset and hurt that I will be headed to Knoxville tomorrow to broadcast Tennessee baseball, and none of my friends will be there.
Oh,
I'm hurt too. I still have not received that bagel from Peyton Kennedy. I was promised it, and it's been weeks, and I'm hungry.
They don't love you like they say they do, Mike. That's it, right? They don't love you like they say they do.
Well, the people watching SEC baseball in Knoxville are hungry for home runs, and they're going to get it in the top two home run hitting teams in college baseball. It all comes back together, Mike.
It does. I'm still thinking about that bagel.
See if A.J. Causey can put up some bagels tomorrow on the box score. Mike Wilson, who joins us every time Tennessee basketball's got a big one. And, of course, tomorrow, courtesy the Vol Network, you hear Tennessee and Creighton. Mike, we appreciate you as always.
Appreciate you.
Yep, I'll appreciate if Kayla is on the show next time.
Thank you, Mike.
I love how Mike doesn't let go. He does not let go. He didn't let you off the hook right there with this bagel he hasn't gotten. Or the fact that he started this show with Kayla not being here and also ended it when he's on the show.
So essentially, if you are unfamiliar with the reference Mike is making, I got my girlfriend for her birthday a shipment of 20 everything bagels from her favorite Jersey bagel place in New York, in New Jersey, O Bagel, which I will always give a free shout out to. And Mike swiped up on my story or her story and was like, I'm going to need one of those when I come for the SEC tournament. Tennessee then made such a quick exit in the SEC tournament, he was not around long enough to grab a bagel, unfortunately.
So it's not your problem. It's a Vols type of problem.
Honestly, it's a Rick Barnes and Tennessee problem more so than it is more so than it even is a Mike problem or a Peyton problem.
Did he text you in response to it again to remind you of his address?
Yeah, I know.
Because he was super adamant about that. Well, come on, man. Pay off your bets.
I know.
What kind of friend are you, dude?
It wasn't even a bet. It was more of just a
promise.
a
That's
giveaway.
worse. No, that's worse. It's a promise, Will. You promised that individual that you was going to give him bagels, and you chose not to. Still to this day. Shame on you. And I'm glad he shamed you in front of everybody who's listening right now.
He will always text me and ask before he comes on this show, how do I make fun of your girlfriend this time?
Oh.
And I'll say, well, let me think about that.
Okay, that's fair.
Bagel thing has been the one recently.
It sounded like he was driving up to Detroit just a second ago.
He may have been.
Yeah.
I know he'll be in the building, of course. Our friend Grant Ramey just took a picture outside of Little Caesars Arena and tweeted pizza with a picture of the arena. So he made it.
He did make it. Proud of that.
You watched any baseball today? Opening day?
Man, if I have time to, yeah. I got some honeydew stuff we got to do with the wife here in a little while, so I ain't sure. Because, baseball, first pitch is usually about 11 o'clock Central or something, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I might catch some. I will.
Man, it is still one of the most exciting days of the season, opening day. I do love it because today always feels like a playoff game, and you get so wrapped up in one game, even though you really shouldn't. And I am hurt and appalled that Braves Phillies and Brewers Mets both got postponed to tomorrow.
Rain?
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible.
Up north.
It's just like spring ball for people that have kids, man.
Do you have a
Every
major league
single
team
weekend.
that I'm unaware of, Ramon?
Me? I wear plenty of hats. You see me with a St. Louis hat, a Braves hat, a Pirates hat. I like
Angels.
the hats. Angels also. I got different jerseys and stuff like that. If I was to have an allegiance to a team, because the area I was raised in and familiar I was, it would be the Cardinals, St. Louis.
Yeah, Memphis is Cardinals territory.
Yeah.
Before I knew better, I was also a Pittsburgh Pirates fan because of Andrew McCutchen, and I love the logo.
He's
but
an
then
awesome dude.
Then you got to meet him. Of course you did. You know everybody. You know everybody.
No,
You're see the difference between you and Buck is Buck loves to throw it out there. You're very humble, like very sweet guy. You always throw little nuggets that no one would know. He's got a great dog. Like, shut up, man.
I mean, Andrew McCutchen is a furry good player.
Because he's a furry
He's
convincing
furry
guy.
good at baseball.
He recently had a new child, too, man.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Sure did. Bert, I hate you.
Ramon,
I hate
a
you even more.
lot more humble than Buck is about people he knows.
Buck knows a lot of people, man.
If I knew anyone, I would not be humble about it, but I don't even know anyone. So
I'd be name dropping like a
I'm
son of a gun.
I'll be name dropping a distance runner that tens of people that listening to our voice right now know.
Hey, I tell people all the times, man, I try to build bridges with relationships. So, hey, it's usually not for me. It's for somebody else. Heck, you might need McCutchen's number, Bert.
I do need it. I need it.
No.
5-tool player.
No.
That was fast.
No.
Coming up, there was a moment of 3HL yesterday that when I first started listening to it, I had no idea what was happening. And then very quickly, this was the hardest that I have laughed at something that has happened on this radio station in a long time. And we'll play it for you next. Oh, yes, it is a great day to be alive on RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, brewed by 8th and Roast. I don't know else it's a great day to do.
What's that?
Subscribe to the Ramon, Kayla, and Will podcast feed.
Things we're here for.
Mike Morgan was great this morning talking SEC hoops. Mike Wilson always bringing it. Talking Vols basketball a few minutes ago. And Coach Dave McGinnis on hip drop tackle, edge rushers, and why Robert Walsh is the best draft analyst in the 104.5 The Zone studios.
I'm talking about solid, man. Don't let Bert's foolishness fool you, okay? Dude's sharp as a tack.
All right, so you have not heard this call yet from 3HL,
I
have
have
you?
not. I was
All right.
being distracted while it was going on. I hate I missed it.
So this guy called in yesterday. Shout out to 3HL. If you missed this, you can find their reaction to it on the last hour of their show yesterday. So subscribe to the 3HL podcast. This is the funniest thing I've heard on this station in a long time.
Ryan and Franklin. Ryan, what's up?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Hey, I listen to you guys
So
every
nice.
afternoon, and I really enjoy it. I've never called in. Let me tell you what I hear, and I may not be the only one. Before a break, for example, Mayor will come on and say, hey, Hunk has gotten us access to a time portal, and when we get back from the break, we're going to have a one-on-one interview with General Nealon and Bear Bryant. And so then we go through 4 or 5 commercials, and we come back, and everybody's excited about it. And so Mayor says, hey, Hunk, where are we on that? And Hunk says, well, we're having a bit of a pickle. And so Slade jumps in and says, Pickles, did you see that platter of pickles I got at Twin Peaks last week? And then Babs jumps in and goes,
so true.
When I was expecting baby Babs, I couldn't stand the smell or the sight of a pickle. So then the mayor comes in to try to get control, and he says, hey, Hunk, do we have Reese and Laura on line 2? Let's go to them. So then Reese comes on, and he says, hey, guys, we're calling from the trunk of our 1976 Buick Cutlass, and you haven't lived until you tasted Miss Laura's homemade pickle wine. And so at the start of all of this, I'm a little frustrated because I foolishly thought we were going to, talk to General Nealon and Bear Bryant. By the end of this, I don't care anymore. I'm completely enthralled with what is that recipe in the back of that cutlass. So guys, never change.
Oh, Ryan.
I mean, hey.
That is the hardest that I have laughed at something on this radio station since the last time Buck tried to eat something spicy or like walk on crates live on the air.
That was good right there. And that's exactly what the Rachel does, man. They will have you ready for the tease, and next thing you know is food or something else, and that's all you want to talk about. 3HP is why I've been calling them 3 Hour Party. 3 Hour Party. Change the name. Drop the L and put a P on there, all right? What a description.
So we love all of our teammates, of course, and we've got a good lineup, of course, every day here on The Zone, but that is the perfect way to describe our 3HL teammates that you could possibly give. There's no doubt.
When he put the baby Babs drop on there, it's like, no, I hated that when I was pregnant. Like, oh, my God, that's so spot on.
Oh, goodness.
That is good. I'm glad they took that call. That was a good one.
Man, so great.
That was great.
So we appreciate all of you who know all of our shows well enough to just do it for us without actually doing it for us, because we know we've got those listeners as well.
Now, again, he said it in the sense of, look, never change. But some people's like, oh, you got to talk sports. Like, nah.
You've all
homered. But you got to give the people what they want. And, man, 3HL brings it in either. I absolutely love it. I'm laughing, too, at that one.
The line between ratchetness and righteousness.
And righteousness. That's it, man. What's your lines tonight, though, Will? Who you got winning, man? How you reeling this thing off?
So I think I'm unwilling to bet the over in UNC Alabama because it's 173 and a half.
Yes.
All right, so do you have all the lines pulled up for games?
I do have them pulled up right here for you on ESPN.
So let's, as part of my take says it, I want to play whose line is it anyway. So we did this in the break earlier because you asked Alabama UNC, and I said, is it UNC minus 4.5?
You were spot on.
That one was correct.
Yep.
Clemson and Arizona. What about Arizona minus 7.5?
Yep, that's
Was that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Go to Vegas, man.
San Diego State, UConn. That's tricky. Aztecs ranked 8th in the 11-team Mountain West for effective field goal percentage. They shot 30% on threes in conference play. I'm going to say UConn minus 8.5.
Off on that one. Give them 3 more. Minus 11.5.
11.5. That's a big number.
I think
I'm taking San Diego State plus 11.5. That is too many points for a Sweet 16 game. I like UConn a lot. UConn could win by 20, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You don't trust it, though. You don't.
It's just a big number for a Sweet 16 game. Sweet 16 games are typically closer than that.
1 versus a 5 seed.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
But national championship game rematch, too.
Yeah,
Some extra juice there for the Aztecs.
I can see that.
And then Illinois, Iowa State. That one is a fascinating game. I'm going to say that's 2.5 towards Iowa State.
Iowa State minus 1.5.
Okay. That's not bad, though.
So to that same point, let's go to San Diego State UConn game.
Yeah.
Total on that one, over under, what you got? Since you said you don't know if it's
so what it's 11.5. That means they're expecting probably a 80 to 69 game. So I'll give them a few more points. Give me like 155.
No, wrong. 136.5.
136.5.
With an 12-point win, basically.
Wow.
I know.
Huh.
They're basically expecting them to smother San Diego State then, right?
This is a good way. There's a big discussion, obviously, that always happens about sports betting and doing it responsibly. This is actually a pretty good exercise to do to try to make the line by yourself before you have your own inherent bias when you look at the total or the point spread. And then whichever way you guessed it based on what you would set the line at, then you bet that. If you're really far off. Like if I say, so I guessed right on Alabama, North Carolina minus 4.5, the logic would then say, well, I probably shouldn't bet on that game because I'm right on the fence. I don't have a strong feeling either way. But since I'm saying San Diego State, I'd take them at 8.5, or I'd take UConn at 8.5. Since it's 11.5, I'm going to bet on San Diego State because I think the line should be 8.5.
Yeah.
Anyway, good way to keep yourself in check.
Absolutely.
Between the navigational beacons. Tomorrow morning, it's a Tennessee game day. Ramon Foster.
It is, my brethren.
We'll talk a lot of Sweet 16 tomorrow. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest will join us. Tennessee had a scrimmage yesterday in spring practice. Nico Iamaleava was there. He threw some touchdowns. There's one 5-star receiver that's playing really well for Tennessee right now, a newcomer. We're going to talk about that with Brent Hubbs tomorrow morning. Lots of Tennessee hoops, lots of NCAA tournament reaction to the games tonight. It'll be 4 hours. It'll be Friday, and we'll act like it. And right now, Ramon Foster sends you home.
No doubt. Another Tennessee news. There's a high schooler here, 4-star, committing today.
That's right.
Yeah, so we'll see how far he goes. But at all times, man, no matter if he goes to Tennessee, Texas, Syracuse, wherever, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.